I have to write an email tonight. To 50 Cent.
It's commonly believed that PCP gives you superhuman strength.
The pizza now! Get the pizza now!
That it makes people jump off buildings because they think they can fly.
Now I'm going to kill myself.
My experience with it was that it made me into a certifiably unhinged, insane douche.
No, it looks like. No, please. That's.
You little bitch! Don't take my car! I'm typing this shit! Don't get away in my fucking car!
PCP.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pro Crastinators podcast. I'm the best guy ever. Let's see who we've got in the menagerie today. We've got Give and Take.
Hey, yup, lad.
We've got Tom Oliver.
Yeah, me too.
Show some fucking enthusiasm, you pathetic, cum-addled brain losers.
You fucking Coomer.
Yeah, Ben's saying it. There he goes. You tell him, Ben.
Coomer,
You tell him.
Coomer extraordinaire.
You're no better, though.
Audience, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry the show is not good anymore. It's my fault. Please.
Doomer on the streets, Coomer in the sheets.
I want to be that big army guy who's shielding that little kid in the bed from all the attacks and death attacks. You know that political cartoon? He's a little baby boy lying in the bed.
I can think of a way better example. There's this
big
incredible
nice soldier
image.
just like as like flames and knives like blast him from behind, you know, to protect him.
That's the gay like millennial
the
version of the actual good one.
The soldier
which
is me.
it's
The
this big...
PCP is the baby.
Okay, I appreciate that. But the better one is there's a glorious knight in shining armor shielding a beautiful princess as they're like walking through a thing.
Yeah.
As like the crowd is throwing shit and he's protecting her. God, I love that fucking image. Anyway, we've got Digibro. There he is.
This is the first time I've been awake at the time that this show is recorded since the last episode that I was on.
That's
I think that was
fascinating
at
and not
least
surprising.
a month ago.
I don't even remember who are you again? What's
No one knows.
I'm that guy who isn't in the endless war.
what in
That's a distinguishing
2019?
I know.
And lethal Aurora Mage. There she is.
I exist as I always do.
You do exist, Mage. And how? And let me just start off by saying, let's get this out of the way, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, you will have seen on the PCP channel by now the release trailer. Right now, at this very moment, the PCP Minecraft server is live. It is live. It is active. It is a thriving community already, no doubt. And you can be a part of it for a monthly. It's got a separate Patreon. $5, and you're in the Discord, and you can play the game every month. That's how it is. It's going to be incredible.
Get excited.
Come join us. Play with us. We want to play with you.
Yes.
It's fun. It's going to be fun.
Ew.
Okay, that's out of the way. We can move on with our lives. But that is the most important thing we'll say today.
I just have to ask, how long do you think you're going to play Minecraft for?
Who can say?
My entire
Even
life.
if it lasts, let's say it lasts 2 months.
I mean, I think Mage will be playing it until the day she dies in 2020. By my hand. As for Nate, I don't know.
Wow, Ben. Wow.
I expect to check in regularly. Besides, like, if we use it for streams and stuff, we, like, I don't know, do stuff there. It could be a gold mine. And, you know, why not try it?
I read the bones, and that's what they told me. Don't hate me, hate the bones, okay?
Hey, what's up, guys? Nate from the future here. Hey, one clarification point about the Minecraft server, just to make sure everybody understands exactly how this is working, is we are going to be grandfathering in everybody with a PCP pledge of the $10 or up, of which there's a handful of people. Those people are going to be given access to the server now without having to go pledge any additional money to the new Patreon. But for everybody else who isn't currently at 10 or higher, everybody else has to go pledge to the new patreon.com/PCP Minecraft server. So don't bother raising your pledge up to $10. That isn't going to work for you. We're trying to make a clear distinction here. So if you want to get in the server, you got to go to the new Patreon and pledge the $5 there. If not, that's totally cool. Don't worry about it. Have a great day. And again, that's patreon.com/PCP Minecraft. See you there.
What were we talking about?
Well, I mean, let's get into it. Whatever else is going on.
Hey, you guys, I remembered I remember that drawing can be fun again, right? Because I'm drawing
I noticed that.
fucking Endless War comics. I'm drawing fucking Nightstar comics. I'm drawing fucking Phantom Horn comics.
I just read all of that like 2 days ago. I can't believe how fast you're fucking putting it out. It's the fastest Ben
incredible.
Saint comic, I think,
I'm having a
ever.
fucking blast. I've made like 110 images, 120 images, something like that. It's really
insane.
fun.
In the span of like a couple of weeks,
Like
right?
a couple of them I made a while back, like the first like 15 or so. But other than that, yeah,
And it was
it's
like-
in like the
I think initially it was more born out of the excitement over meeting Chris Chan, right?
It was because the genesis of the genesis of the Love Hogs, if you will, is that I was reading through Sonichu issue 12-9, and in one of her backstory lines, Nightstar says that her eye is green because she got some slime in it during a science experiment. And suddenly my mind expanded to encompass all of not only Dimension 1218, but also C197. And I realized that it was all connected in the great circle of life. And it was a story that I had to tell.
It very quickly becomes like, it seems like you're trying to make it a tutorial for Endless War as well. Like a user book almost, like to lure in
And
new
finally.
people. Like, hey, people, because your biggest video is your Chris Chan video, so it's like, hey, Chris Chan people, come look at this comic that is secretly trying to teach you how to play my underground Discord video game.
I mean, Chris Chan is in Endless War right now. Like they entered.
That's true.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
The world. This is one of those moments where it's like, oh, our lives have gotten too fucking weird now. Like,
It's so cool.
She's in there. She's got the special role of visiting mayor of Quickville. Although technically she is dead. She is a
Cab
corpse
killed
in the
her, I
sewers.
think, and has her scalp.
Doopity Schmoopel's been messaging me. Doopity Schmoopel has acquired the scalp in through various trade deals and barter swapping, and I guess he wants to barter with me for various objects.
That's the kind of thing Dupe would do.
It's not exactly a tutorial. It talks about, like, I do mention game mechanics every here and there just because I think it's funny, and I drop links in there and stuff. It is kind of Matt told me that like people are joining because they're finding the game through the comic, which is really funny and kind of what I wanted. But also, it's just sort of like a loving tribute. It's just sort of a fucking. All right, I have the whole first chapter ready to go. It might be done, but I think I said this last week. Like I'm getting close there. Okay, I just have all these like key points. I have these key images in my head that I must hit, and like in between those, I'm just scribbling out like I have to fucking power my way through to that image, to that next image that I see.
Ben, I'm
the
really
next one, the
curious
next page
about
is one.
the
I have it. It's
canonicity
red.
of this
I
comic
see it.
to
I
Endless
have to
War.
make it maybe
Because,
right after this
well,
podcast.
what I'm curious about is because there's tons of artwork from Endless War, right? And like these locations, do they, within the context of the game, do they have like accepted visuals? Like, do people have like a joined sense of what the mines look like, or have you just like now defined that through this comic? Is that like official canon, or should people continue to interpret it differently?
It's both.
It's sort of loose. There's loose canon. Like if somebody draws a really cool version of like all of the locations have like flavor text describing them, but they're vague enough that you could interpret it in many ways. So anything goes, but the coolest stuff is the thing people stick with.
Every district is a big place, so like the fact that two people draw the mines differently, you can just be like, oh well, okay. I mean, it's a big place, just it's two different spots, and like this is like the agreed. If you draw it, it is canon. Like. This is the understanding. This is the community's collective understanding. Is that it's all canon, and like you just gotta find a way to understand that it's all canon.
And I mean, did you? I mean, I said this last time, but not only, yes, everything that's happening here is canon, Endless War. That's how it works. But the involvement of Chris Chan, and by Chris Chan's explicit word, has made all of this stuff, all this canon to real life.
Yes.
It's canon to real life explicitly. And that's just great, as far as I'm concerned.
In the dimensional merge.
So wait, what you mean by canon to real life is that it's canon to the Chris Chan universe, which is real life.
Well,
yes,
in
that's
context.
Well, Chris Chan is canon. Sonichu is canon. Okay, well, first of all this is explicitly canon to Sonichu because Chris said so.
Yes.
But on top of that,
Right.
so now everything adjacent to this, and Sonichu itself, and Endless War, and T-Bap, and even Radcon, if you can believe it. All these things are now canon to real life in that they literally physically exist somewhere in the universe because all fiction, this included, takes place in C197. So it's all real. We will go there soon as the dimensions collide. Magi-chan is already here. Magi-chan has been appearing. He's been making appearances in YouTube videos lately. Chris has been making tweets about, like, oh, look who showed up in one frame of such and such video. Too fast for the human eye to see. It's Magi-chan.
Right.
Excellent.
Mysterious purple blurs.
I just want to know what it feels like to have gone from somebody who, like, a decade ago was, like, researching Chris Chan and, like, following her output with Sonichu, made a lecture that was, like, the biggest thing you've ever made, and now Chris considers everything you've ever made canon to her universe.
It's not enough. It's not enough. I want more.
Gotta take over.
What I want, I will not be happy until Chris
starts drawing comics with your
until
characters
Chris starts
in
drawing,
them.
and not in like a weird idea guy's way. Just in a I just want to see. I want like a genuine back and forth, like a genuine artistic back and forth between me and Chris, and then once.
Do you think that Chris would be bothered by any of the content in your comic?
I think that she was bothered by the 9/11, but not okay. Chris was not.
That was the funniest fucking thing in that comic, by the way. That was
yeah,
fucking
I said the
hilarious.
same thing. It was
and the
incredible.
gigantic explosion of blood.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Chris was not bothered by the blood at all. Chris was not bothered by Red Man's
Sonichu
murder.
was pretty violent, right?
Well, okay, it was and it has been, but I think that Chris has like really walked back on that because the reception to the end of whichever one with the Alec Benson Leary trial, like that one has these like gruesome executions, but all those were made non-canonical and retcon so that they didn't technically happen. Chris like fully walked back from that, right? Because the negative reaction was huge. So like Chris has learned through like the application of one's hand to a hot stove that you don't touch that anymore, right? So Chris knows on some level that like violence is bad. And that's why I think she was like, whoa, okay, this 9/11 was no fun, you guys. Because, like, people reacted negatively to her over that one video where she makes fun of Clyde Cash by saying that he is like the Twin Towers. Weak.
Oh,
What a burn.
Yeah.
That is fucking
Weak
hilarious.
like water, and she could blow. He at the time could blow Clyde Cash out like birthday candles, just like the Twin Towers.
Right.
So I think that was why Chris was like, she said something about the Twin Towers, about 9/11. It's like, oh, good thing this didn't happen in real life. This isn't the real 9/11. This is a different thing. This is fictional. Those buildings were empty.
He's got her bases covered. Totally.
Yes.
Good job.
But she didn't care about the fucking gruesome death of Redman. So I don't really. So I
Redman's
don't really.
fine.
Well, Chris doesn't know that Redman's fine. Yet. This is a big reveal. This is a big reveal that's coming. The revive system is a big reveal that's coming in the comic later.
Okay, that's fair.
Anyway, I don't know what's going on in that head of Chris's. I don't know what upsets her and what doesn't. It's hard to say.
We'll just have to wait and see, I guess, and wait for those sweet lore to be added to his comic. Her comic.
Like at the point when Phantom and Strawberry are like standing around just like dripping blood, just like coated in it for like pages and pages and pages as they like discuss, their situation. Like at that point I thought I was over the line, and like I was like, Chris is gonna see this and be like, what the fuck is this? Fuck off. But she didn't, so who knows?
What would you do if she got upset over something you drew and wanted to sue you over the use of the character?
Wanted to sue me? Oh, well, I mean,
yeah.
she can't, so whatever. Okay, drama. Chris was talking to this person, and this is something I didn't know about, but like I've heard about it lately. Chris was talking to someone named Sockness, and this Sockness person was going to go and see Chris, and this person was really weird online, and apparently they were like dating ? And like Sockness got a ticket and was gonna go see her, and then like Chris called off. But she called it off in like the most lukewarm, stupid way possible, where she's like, hey, I still love you and I want to see you, but it's too soon, you know, I'm getting too many red flags, at which point, message over, you know, this relationship's off, red flags, but then it continued. Actually, in reality, it continues like, oh, no, we'll do it later when there are fewer red flags, right? It's like, okay, whatever, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, Chris has never been good at, like, what's the word, cutting off when you realize it's not going to work out and making a hard decision.
So this is like what's going on in the Chris Chan life right now. Like, this is the drama. Is this whole like, oh, Chris dumped Sockness, kind of like, they're not gonna fuck or whatever. But Sock, right before this happened, Sockness messaged me on Twitter being like, hey, stop using Sonichu shit, stop like doing this or we'll sue. This is copyright infringement.
Who's we?
And
Who are
Chris
you, individual?
And Chris responded to Sockness like, chill out, it's fine.
Chris is into it.
Yeah.
When you are more autistic than
comic,
Chris.
it seems
No
like.
offense,
When she's
Chris.
reading all of it, it sounds like.
I think she's less interested in it now that Nightstar isn't. Now that like it's not like she's not liking every tweet anymore. But like I'm assuming she's still seeing it.
You are tagging her in every single one.
Yeah. I gotta bring Nightstar back, like just for like a little visual callback. I just gotta like test the waters, make sure Chris is still paying attention. Trot the little image of Nightstar out in front of her, like, hey, you see us? It's still canon. It's still canon.
Yep. That's the easy fix.
Get that. Also, Chris has been those two panels of Nightstar going, I get it. You're lying. Chris has been using those as like reaction images on Twitter. Like when someone says something that Chris doesn't agree with, Chris will respond with those two images, cropped very badly in such a way that you literally cannot see Nightstar's face in either panel. But whatever, the intent is there, I guess.
I love it.
Yeah, so that's what's up with that, I suppose.
Pretty fucking
fun. It's really fun.
Tom, what's the state of Azumi game right now?
Well, I'm getting ready to start Tober again. It has been 1 year since the production of the game has started.
Yo, Tom, are you far from the mic? You sound kind of quiet.
Am I? Really?
I didn't think you sounded.
Okay, that sounds better. I think.
Sounded okay
I
to
don't
me.
know. Just saying. All right, maybe.
Okay, well, Tober starts in 2 days, and that'll be a year since I started working on the game. So I'm gonna try and get the final public demo, like feature complete,
nice.
with, like a level and stuff. I have a couple of people who are helping me now. The game's come pretty far. I've been updating it every couple weeks for patrons.
What are people helping
Tom,
you with?
I'm very curious. Who are you working with? Just if you don't mind sharing. I mean.
Well, I have three people. I have Sixten and my friend Adar, who've been doing the soundtrack, and we've been going back and forth. They've been making some new tracks. It's pretty fucking sick. They got the authentic OPM emulator things, so it sounds authentic to Sega Genesis, which is dope. And then this other dude messaged me on Twitter out of the blue, was like, hey, I do 3D, let me help. And I'm like, what can you do? And then he just took one of my concept arts that I just showed him randomly. He's like, here's a fully complete model in like 3 days. I'm like, okay, sure, let's do it. So he's like super stoked about that. So I got a couple people to kind of help lighten the load, because there's a lot of shit that needs to get done.
That's the way.
When was the last like? Well, no, I guess I should ask like when can we the rest of us see when can the general public see the new build or something? I don't know. You got one planned?
I'm hoping by the plan right now is to get the final demo that's like basically an entire level with a boss fight by the end of DevTober.
Nice.
So
a boss fight. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I have like a boss that I've modeled. I got to figure out like how to build.
Did you end up finding somebody to consult with about the level design?
Not yet. that is my next thing. I got to find somebody who's like better at level
Tom,
design
if you
than
want
I
to
am.
win every indie game award, here's what you do.
Right.
There was like a thread on V about this the other day. It's like you know what like the jumping capabilities of your character are. You just make tunnels of spikes and just make it so that you can barely make the jumps, and everything except a perfect jump is surrounded with spikes, and you will win every indie game award that there is if you just do that.
You have to have
'cause that's
instant
what good game
respawn, though,
design
if you
looks
do
like,
that.
right?
No,
Yeah.
you should base it. I think if you, the
Instant
more you
respawn.
base it
That's
on
good.
like going back and playing, like Genesis Shinobi, and just like try to copy the level designs to some extent, because like if you're, I mean, obviously your mechanics are more advanced, I think, than Shinobi's are, but like, if you want it to feel like more authentic to Genesis, like try to do Genesis level design.
Yeah, I mean that's the
Might
idea
as well,
is
yeah.
to go back and examine that stuff. The biggest, I don't want to say issue, but the challenge right now is going to be that like Azumi's movement is insane. Like you can traverse like huge distances with like a double jump plus a double dash, so you can like go crazy ape shit. So I might have to tone that down, even though it's super fucking fun and it's the best part of the entire game.
I mean, you could also look at stuff like Mega Man X has more like agile movement than say like Shinobi. Like there's like dashing and stuff like that, and there's definitely some games from that era that that like they just like make the levels bigger. They're just taller and more vertical. You know?
There just had to be a lot more space. I mean, the funny thing is like I was playing it. I was working on the mechanics. I'm like getting really like into like the hit stop and like the cathartic like game feel. I'm like, why didn't I just make a beat 'em up? Then I wouldn't have to worry about levels. All those levels are literally just a straight line and you punch things.
Right.
That's true.
I would have solved like 90%.
It's always been crazy to me
there.
though that beat ups were such a big genre, because like they are like really straightforward.
Yeah, I mean they literally are go left.
I mean,
game,
those are.
or go right the game depending on.
I think the appeal of those is just the sound effects of the punching, and it's just really cathartic.
Exactly, and that's like that's the thing that I'm like being really autistic over. Like the last like month has just been like I gotta make. Maybe if I put the hit stop like a little bit more to feel even better. Maybe if I make this part not part of the hit stop, so it keeps animating even though everything else is frozen, it'll feel even better. And I'm like, I really should like build
great
a level.
sound
I'm
effects
like,
will enhance like anything. Like if the animation is so-so, if
Yeah.
you get a perfect sound effect, nobody will ever notice if it's not like the animation's a bit rough.
There was a game someone recommended to me. I was watching a playthrough of it, and I muted it, and instantly the game didn't feel nearly as good because the sound was doing all the heavy lifting. I'm like, huh, that's interesting. So when I did that, I muted my game and made sure it still felt good. I'm like, hey, I'm better.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so it's cool. I'm hype. It's gonna be good.
This reminds me of back in the day, me and my buddy John. I mean, in college, I made a couple of games. I was in the game design club, studying that stuff, etc. But after college, me and my buddy John were working on a game. I forget I think we gave it a name. Like it was something musical related. And the conceit of it was, like, I was doing level design and most of the programming. I mean, whatever. Me and John, like, I was a more experienced programmer and stuff, and I had done level design for a game me and my buddy Rich had done in college, so I was doing it again. And that was, like, primarily a platformer, and I'll just tell everybody the gimmick, because that's the most interesting thing about it, and it's when you establish your mechanics, then you build the levels around it. That's the way to make it the game that, like, I would want to most play, because I love platformers and stuff. And so here was the conceit of the game. It was that every level had its own music, or maybe every like world would have its own song that plays in the background. And here was the thing. On the beat, and sometimes irregularly on the beat, there would be an indicator that would flash. And so on beat, again, this is like a musically themed game, you would get abilities that you could only do basically on the beat. It was kind of like a Guitar Hero meets, I don't know, Super Meat Boy or something. And so, like, just for one example, you would, like, your jump would go like twice as high if you jumped on the beat.
It's a little bit
as opposed to not on the beat.
Necrodancer, right?
Yeah. This was before Necrodancer, but yeah, it was like that. It was like that.
Stole your
but
idea.
You had I mean, we thought it was cool. We made a couple of levels. We actually made quite a few levels. But I mean, this was I made some character designs. It was cute. It was good stuff. But actually, this was the time when it was right at the beginning. I was spending my free time. I was, going to work. I was spending my free time working on this game with John. But then I decided to do YouTube. So I'm like, hey, John, I'm going to spend my time doing YouTube instead of working on this game. So, I won't have as much time. Maybe if this doesn't work out, I'll come back. So maybe one day me and John will pick up that idea and run with it again. But
do it. It'd be cool.
I thought it was a good idea. I love doing it. I kind of miss making games because it's pretty fun. It's also really, really hard. So
the big problem that I'm reading about now with games, and that scares me immensely, is everyone's like, indie games are over. It's impossible to get noticed or make any money off of them now.
Oh, that's
because
fucking
market
bullshit.
is so fucking
I don't
saturated.
believe that.
It's crazy. The entire fucking not industry, but like community seems like so fucking down on everything. And I'm just constantly reading things about that. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I mean, maybe it's a pragmatic thing. Like, we can point to things like Hollow Knight and even like Blasphemous that just came out. But those are like, okay, how many indie games were made for like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 to stand out at the peak? Maybe it's just realistically.
The big gay panic in the indie scene right now is that everybody is they're adopting a Netflix subscription service now.
Oh.
So like you're gonna get
like
paid
Humble
on
Bundle kind of stuff?
Well, the platforms like a lot of people who do indies right now are doing mobile, and both Apple and Android both just announced a $5 a month not streaming service but subscription service for games. And so you're only under that model, you only get paid for how many minutes people are playing your games. So you're incentivizing like pointless, endless bullshit that just wastes your time because you're just like, you know, fucking Netflix fucked over like movies and Spotify's like bankrupting the indie musicians. Everyone's like, well, the subscription service is coming for games now too. So everyone's butthurt about that.
Feels like every day, like we're coming closer to just have your own website, forget stuff, just be cool and have your own shit.
Tom, you're planning to sell that game, right?
Initially I wasn't, but now that it's becoming such a big fucking to-do and it's becoming a brain blast of like cool ideas that I have no idea how I'm going to pull off, I'm probably going to have to just to justify all the effort.
How much do you think you'd charge for it?
I don't know, no more than $10. It's only going to be 4 levels. It'll probably be like an hour to play through.
I think if the game is only like, you know, $10 or less, and like we have a platform to promote it, so like at the very least it's going to get some sales. I mean, you could talk about it on I Am Games, you could talk about it on here, we could talk about it. Everybody's probably going to want to promote that shit because it's going to be a fucking
just like we did with Davu's game, at least a little bit.
And if the game was successful enough, do you think you would try to like figure out if you could like reproduce it onto a Genesis cartridge?
I mean, I don't know if it's even like technically possible because like I don't know what the exact specifications of the Genesis are. I mean, I would love to have that. It would be like the biggest cum of all time.
How many people actually have a physical Genesis anyway? You know, these days.
Well, lots of people.
Everybody?
Maybe.
There's currently like it's kind of like a boutique market right now to make like limited run like repro cartridges of games, but usually the games are designed like literally around the system's capabilities if they're going to do that, you know. In Tom's case, it's more of just an aesthetic.
What would be interesting? There's a video on YouTube of some guy that it was called Doom running on an NES. And I guess what he did is you open up a NES cartridge, you put a Raspberry Pi in there, and then you can have it output through the NES, but it just runs the game off the Raspberry Pi. Yeah, Raspberry Pi is like a mini computer.
Like, why would you put a Pi in your fucking Nintendo? That sounds pretty messy. What were they thinking?
Oh, it was a parody video. No one told me shit. I thought this was... But like, I'm just thinking like maybe you could do that for a Sega. Like you get like a Raspberry Pi, it runs the game off that, but it like interfaces through the Genesis's video out.
For a Genesis, you would use a chili dog.
Apparently, it is possible.
Tom,
what's up?
I don't know anything about this. I've only heard that like indie people say that like getting your game on Nintendo is pretty good. Would it that?
Yeah, the Switch is pretty fucking hot right now for indies, but even now it's like starting to get super saturated just because everyone's targeting that.
Because there's way too much fucking bullshit. Like they are not quality controlling it. So you go on there. I mean, it's just like,
is Switch the new Steam?
It is.
It kind of is. Yeah, Steam's kind of. I guess. I was reading today in a thread that I guess Steam's reduced like profits for indies by 50% or something, like some update to the policy, and everyone's fucking butthurt about it. And I'm just like, I don't even know what's going on. I'm just over here in my corner coloring, so I have no fucking clue.
I can't believe. Strange. I really can't believe that like indies are getting released on the Switch. That seems like That's like the opposite
Have
of
you
like
heard about
Nintendo's
the
old
Entitled Goose
MO.
game?
Oh, someone was telling me about Goose Game just yesterday. My friend,
Untitled Goose Game.
Toby was telling me that I gotta check out Goose
My friend
Game.
Toby Fox.
My
you might
friend,
know him.
I was
yes,
gonna
yeah.
say.
He was like, "Hey, Ben, love the Nightstar comic. Just back the Vapors 2 Kickstarter at kickstarter.com/project/bensane/vapors 2. Love your stuff. However, have you played Goose Game?" And I said,
Untitled Goose
and I
Game.
said, Toby Fox, you're a fucking hack. Deltarune wasn't that good. Come back when you've fucking grown a brain, a dick, and a heart. And
has anyone actually? I mean, I've seen a little bit of the footage of Goose Game. It's just Goat Simulator 2, right? I mean, who cares?
That's
People are
what
gonna forget it
that's
in
what I
one
said.
day,
I was like, is it
right?
like
I don't know
Goat
about
Simulator?
it. I know people love it.
I mean,
And
it's at
I-
least
yeah.
visually appealing, and Goat Simulator was not.
I love it so much.
I agree.
It's true.
Because
The aesthetic is
have
really
you seen
nice.
the Goose Waddle? That's all I need.
Oh my God! See, that's what people are paying for. Lol, cute Goose Waddle. Wow, that's worth my what? $8,000? I don't think so.
I am here for this goose. I stand Goose.
I mean, that's all you need, I guess.
fucking
I guess
name your
I've been
beach
overthinking this
Did
whole
you
video
watch-
game thing.
Did you watch Donkey's video about Goose Game?
I did not. I did not.
You'll see that like there's a lot of. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
AI scripting of the people that makes the game interesting. You can like really fuck with the NPCs and like.
Okay, fair enough.
do
You can lock a
weird
little
things.
boy into a like what's it called, like the phone booth.
You can no clip through the little boy and QPU over a couple dimensions.
Oh, can you backwards long jump as the goose?
You gotta keep your Goose QPU aligned at all times. That's the meta.
I want to see. I want to hear like the Mario wahoo, but like a goose like honk.
You know, some. It's secret Waluigi propaganda. Oh God!
Imagine if Goose
Yeah.
makes it into Smash and Waluigi still isn't.
This game looks like a Kurzgesagt video or something. This game
Yeah,
looks
it
like
does.
a mass appeal YouTube video.
It reminded me a bit of Ooblets, if you guys know about Ooblets.
I know the
don't know that.
name, but I've never met
heard
the
of
man.
Ooblets. I've seen a bit of it.
There was
They're
a
the ones
recent
who got in trouble
controversy with
for being on Epic Game Store, right?
Yeah,
And everyone got mad 'cause they were being
I've
punks
actually
about it.
knew about them way before. I was
Yeah,
looking
I
forward
was
to
following
their
their
game
project, and it
on
looked sick.
Steam.
Do you guys?
Yeah.
So what's the deal? Did they get fucked?
They signed a deal with the Epic Game Store.
Oh,
and
that's
they were like
Faustian
really.
bargain.
But that wasn't a big mistake.
They were up their own ass about
Yeah.
it. They made a whole like thing, just like, you guys are gay. This is fucking great. We're better
Okay.
than you because we made a game, and everyone was like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, they were kind
So-
of rude about it. Like, if they
Yeah.
had just been like, hey guys, we were going to Epic exclusive because we really need the funding, whatever. Like if they were honest about it and just, just nice people.
When I see people arguing about the Epic Store, like when people like the argument that I see online is like people are like, guys, indie devs have to go on the Epic Store because it makes them money because they need money. Duh, you idiots. And the response is like, well, fine, yeah, business is gonna make money, of course, but like the thing people say is like, yeah, but a lot of people like kickstarted their project, crowdfunded their project or something for a public release, and then like turned around and like released on an exclusive
Because
platform.
like you backed the project to get a Steam key, and then like, oh, there's no Steam keys now.
double
And it's just like,
dipping,
well,
as it were.
right.
I believe that Bloodstained, for example, was originally supposed to be on Wii U, but like now it's been so many years or whatever. Like no one, like, what's the point? No one's gonna buy it.
Yeah.
So they just ditched. And like it's fair to have a grievance if you want it on the Wii U, but.
I mean, if you had a Wii U, you probably have a Switch by now. I feel like it'd probably be a non-issue.
I mean, yeah,
for the
but maybe you're an
majority
old
of people.
codger. You don't want to be changing your ways.
I mean,
You're
I was the
stuck in
oldest
mud.
codger of them all, and I already
That's
had
true.
a Switch by now. So.
Yeah, that's true. If you finally moved, whatever. People are entitled to their grievances. If people break their word, fair enough.
Patreon.com/Polystation2 to play my game. You can play the new
Indeed.
build. You can play all the new moves I've added. It's pretty sick. The hit stop is now perfect. Feels
Excellent.
like the best shit of all time. Yeah, I'm really happy with it so far.
Hey, let me give you guys an update from the NATO-verse, which is this thing. So me and Gib talked about this yesterday when we recorded the Poddy cast. Was that yesterday? Yeah, okay, I think it was. And there's a couple things going on, but I've noticed a few things. So it's the subject of hype culture and like hype stuff that I talk about sometimes, but I just wanted to bring up this one particularly, I don't know, a perfect example of what's going on. And there was even a new one a little bit after I saw that from yesterday that's even more interesting. And so the new chapter of One Piece, I won't get into the specifics, but among other things, the new chapter had a big flashback to like some of Roger's history, like Roger's greatest rival of the past, and we learned about like a lot of deep lore about him and Garp and things like this, and like the relationship of the Yonkos back in the day, like the big important people in One Piece, blah blah blah. I know a lot of people don't know, that's fine. And then the second half of the chapter, what it did was it just dumped like all the Yonkos bounties, which are like they're like the One Piece equivalent of like the power level rating. It's different. People decide them. It's not exactly the same as like Reiatsu from Bleach or whatever, but you know, there's a similar kind of hype surrounding them. And we got them for all the Yonko, Whitebeard, and Gold fucking Roger. We got like all their historical bounties that are like said to be the highest of all time. So like this is a chapter that gave us numbers that don't really indicate anything other than like how much value like the Marines put on these guys, and then we learned like some backstory that like, I mean, just thinking about it rationally, like Oda could have just made this up like yesterday and written it into the story as like something he's planning for the future. It's not like this was something that was really planned out for a long time necessarily. And I think, given my experience with this series, I think this would have been hinted if he was going to do it before. Okay, but the point is, everything in this last chapter was like pure hype bait. It's like, okay, there will be future developments about like Roger's past. Okay, cool. And like his old adversary, this guy Rocks, et cetera, his old crew. And then also we just learned a bunch of bounty stuff, and that stuff really doesn't actually matter very much to the narrative of One Piece. It's just like satisfying for like us, like lore fags, people who are like, we want to know these numbers. It just satisfies the autism. Mm-hmm. And like, and some people were saying this was the best chapter of One Piece. And I went on, I mean, some people who are like respected members of the quote unquote One Piece community. And I just found that so strange that like, as opposed to like,
I hope you're not going to go, don't do the entire rant again. It was
no,
really
I'm not. I'm just saying, as opposed to like a big end of arc moment where like all this artistic stuff that's been set up for like months and possibly years, all is like satisfyingly concluded in an artistic climax. Instead, this like hype chapter is called like the best moment in One Piece. And I find that like the wrong way to read One Piece, basically. So it's hype culture at work. And then just yesterday, after I saw that, somebody tweeted me on Twitter, and they said, "Hey, Nate, have you seen this?" This is what they led with. Like, Nate, did you hear about the Sekiro DLC rumors? Have you heard about the hints about Sekiro DLC? Okay, so first of all, there's no one on the planet who's more interested in Sekiro DLC than me. I am the #1 strongest Japanese boy who wants my strongest Japanese DLC for my samurai game. This is what I want more than anything. So when I'm like, okay, don't lie to me now. Don't tease me, boy. What is this? He links me a post from here. I've got it right here. It's a post on Sekiro's Twitter that it just looks like this, and it says the one-armed wolf awakens, and it's just a picture of Sekiro, of Wolf, like from the opening area of the game. So people are taking this like statement of the one-armed wolf awakens as like, ooh, could this be like a reawakening? Could this be like more DLC? Well, okay, lads, let's use a little critical thinking here. First of all, if you scroll down beyond like 2 fucking posts, you can see that this Twitter feed regularly, it is the official Sekiro Twitter feed, it regularly posts like still images of the game with quotes exactly like this. There's one from a couple days ago that's Kuro, the little boy that you work for, your lord or whatever, and it's just him, and it says, "I heard stories of your death, yet here you are." And there's more just like, the point being, like, this image is such a poor indicator that there is actually any intention of DLC. There has been no other, like, clues that any DLC is coming. And yet, when you just look at the numbers, this image has been retweeted 4,000 times, and all these other ones have been retweeted, like, 100, maybe 200, like 150, and like there's like 10 times the amount of likes because people have been like tricked into thinking that this is like a hint of DLC when there's like nothing implied here. And this is my point. This is the vicious hype machine at work. I don't want to be led to believe there's actually hints of DLC coming when the actual evidence, when you do and you look at it critically, there's just no reason to believe that, and it just sets people up like me, in this case, for disappointment. So it's just endlessly frustrating to me that all these people involved, like I feel like people say to me on the episode yesterday, they said like, Nate, we just want to get hyped and excited about things. Why are you poo-pooing our hype? And it's like, well, like, because it's disappointing. And people, like, if I bought Sekiro now under the expectation that DLC was coming, that could be a waste of money if, like, that's what I'm buying it for. Customers and consumers can be falsely led down paths. What if I read all of One Piece because I believe something that was wrong, and then I get to it, and I'm like, oh, well, shit, that isn't what I expected. My time was wasted. I mean, I love One Piece, but you get my point. I'm endlessly frustrated by how people view this subject, and they just don't want to believe that there could be any negative consequences of any kind by, like, believing things that have no substantiating evidence, by overhyping things and possibly poisoning the well for other people.
I get
you know what I'm saying, Laz? Does this make sense? Are you with me?
Getting excited, getting hyped about something could be fun. Like, you know it's actually coming, and like, and you and your friends are like, yeah, it's gonna release this day. Let's get hyped. It's gonna be fun. And it's sort of fun in the moment just to share the information, excitement with someone. But also, like, the hype itself, if you don't know if it's confirmed or not, or just, like, if you get, like, toxic about it or violent about it, it's just, or aggressive, I guess. Yeah, that's true.
Or even just set up for disappointment. That's the great bugbear here. I don't want people to be disappointed by things because I feel, and it can mislead consumers, and money could be spent places where it doesn't deserve, or time or energy. I just want to save people from that, and myself. So, I don't know.
I feel, this reminds me of a situation, like, it pops up every few years, I keep seeing it. It used to be on Tumblr, but I don't use Tumblr anymore, so I haven't seen it in a while. Every few years, season 2 of Ouran High School Host Club is gonna be announced soon, and everyone gets so hyped, and just like, guys, no.
Yeah.
Oh, that will not.
That's
happen.
like how they keep promising the reboot of Reboot. You know, that old CG show Reboot. Yeah, every now and then they'll announce it as a way to, like, generate fake hype, and then they never do it.
If you look down at the evidence behind any of these claims, I would bet almost 100% the actual evidence for it is, like, terrible.
You know what your stance reminds me of is when the new generation of consoles started, Super Bunnyhop had a series of videos that were kind of what, like, first drew attention to his channel. Where he was pointing out that he just was not hyped for the upcoming consoles. And he had, first it was like the Xbox One, why I'm not hyped, which nobody was. So, like, it was just kind of seen as par for the course. But then he put out a video where he was, why he was not hyped for the PS4. And his argument was basically the same as yours. It's like, a lot of the claims they're making, they have no evidence for. And in the PS3's case, what they tried to bill it as was not what we got, you know? So,
but
like,
we look like villains when we poo-poo any of it. People want to be hyped.
Overwhelming dislikes on that. Like, even though it got enough views that people paid attention to his channel from then on, like, it's like 40% dislike bar, maybe even more. Maybe it's more than 50. I have no idea how it evolved over time, but, like, people were just really upset that, like, because the PS4... literally on that E3, just because it was presented so much better than Xbox One, is considered to be why it is so successful. And it's like one of the most successful consoles of all time, after the PS3 didn't even sell half as much, you know, with a longer lifespan and way the fuck more games.
I just found the video, 5 reasons to not get hyped for the PS4, 13,000 upvotes, 17,000 downvotes. The case is clear.
And he's not being unreasonable and, like, shitting on it. He's just like, hey, man, don't take the claims seriously until they've been proven. And, like some of this shit is they're talking out of their ass, you know? Like, yeah, it ended up being a good console anyways. It's just like, don't buy into the marketing. Just wait till it comes out, and if it's good, then great, you know?
Like, modern day AAA games a lot, you know, they promise a lot. You pre-order, and then, like, it's shit. And just like, that hype.
I'm working on... here and there, I'm working on a concept that I'm going to reveal at some point in the future. It's like a think piece I've been wanting to talk about for many years. It's like my whole gaming career has been leading up to it. It's like I think I've mentioned it a little bit. It's something like the intellectual limit on like what a game or any kind of product can be. It like when I like, for example, with something like Final Fantasy 15, when I see people being like, this game looks so incredible, like look at all the things, look how like complicated the animations are, I already know that the developers, first of all, technical limitations on how much you can do with a controller and how much brain power the average player can be expected to commit to any given game 100% tell me you are not controlling the precise movements of these characters. It's mostly AI stuff happening. And then also, I know for a fact there's only so much work a dev team can pour into any given game to make it like feasible to release. I just know for a fact that like Kojima levels of detail are like an incredible rarity. We like never get that much detail as like a Metal Gear Solid 3 environment or whatever. So like it's silly to just allow the hype machine to be like, it's going to be like No Man's Sky random generation stuff almost every single time. And people just allow their imaginations to run wild, and they inevitably set up for disappointment.
I think that the culture has somewhat shifted after like Watch Dogs. Because so many people, that and the one you just said, and also like
No Man's Sky, yeah.
The non-release of like Star Citizen over the course of all these years, like you know, or Spore. It's just like all these games that overpromise, and then like, but particularly with something like Watch Dogs, where it like didn't even resemble the original thing. It's like, oh, this is just a generic shitty game, and everybody was like buying fucking special editions of it because what they showed in the trailers looked awesome. But like it was like a technical benchmark, but they didn't achieve that in the game.
Mean, this has been going on forever. I mean, the Killzone 2 trailer from fucking
exactly
all the way back has been doing
the Dark
this.
Souls 2 trailer. Fuck.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
The entire Anthem reveal
detail or something. Like that.
Yeah, exactly.
like did you guys hear about Anthem? How like they had this huge big reveal and it looked gorgeous and everything, and then later it came out, it's like, the entire dev team working on Anthem found out the game was called Anthem on that reveal trailer. That's how far behind in development they were. And it's just like, oh dear.
I mean, one facet of this isn't directly tied into this subject, but like your video recently on Digi's video about the new remake of Link's Awakening or whatever. Like that, this is a little bit different, but it's like what's the selling point of that game? Yes, apparently some things have been improved in like the gameplay, but like why a lot of it matters just what are you looking for out of the game? If you just want a game that looks like that and you want to experience, then I have nothing critical to say. Basically, it is what it is. There's no doubt, no point doubting it.
It's weird. We've entered a period now where like people have gotten used to buying the same game multiple times on different consoles. Like whichever console you have hooked up to your TV, because of the fact that we use our consoles for fucking everything. Like my brother Victor, he does all of his YouTube viewing, everything, internet browsing, usually just because he's too lazy to open a laptop, all through the PS4. So it's like, just, you know, Jesse is somebody, and Jesse and Tom, I know, are both people who've bought the same game multiple times. Like you bought Doom on the Switch, even though you already had it on PC. Like,
to be fair, I bought Doom on the Switch because I thought I was going to be living in a car and I wouldn't be able to play it on a PS4 anymore.
Okay, fair enough.
But like, you know,
on the table.
We'll buy it on the sake of like, oh, I want to have it on the Switch, and like, a lot of people had Link's Awakening.
I did that with Hollow Knight. I straight up just bought it on the Switch because I wanted it on
I bought Guilty Gear XX like at least 7 times now.
I also did that with Forager. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I'm probably gonna get Rune Factory 4 on the Switch, even though I have it on the 3DS.
I had bought Link's Awakening DX on the 3DS and played it for the first time there in the Virtual Console. And, like, because Switch doesn't have Virtual Console yet, I think they were just like, all right, well, we've been remaking Zelda games. Which one hasn't had a remake? And it's like, Link's Awakening had a remake, but it was still on the Game Boy. A lot of people like it. Let's just update it with better graphics and sell it for $60 and people will pay for it because it's got The Legend of Zelda in the name. And, like, to me, it's like... It's obscene, but I almost bought it anyway. You know, I was just kind of like, well, I'll play it. I know I'll play it.
I was really tempted. I'm still kind of tempted to buy it, but I think I really do want to just play the original more. And it was absolutely your video.
If you haven't played the original, I would encourage you to because it's fun. It's a fun game. Like it holds up. You could pick up and play it. The only thing
cheaper,
that's
too.
frustrating about it is that you can only hold 2 items at a time, and the sword is one of the items. So you almost always want your sword equipped. So every time you want to switch items, you have to open up the menu, and you will do it a lot. But like that's the only thing that's really not good about the game. Everything else is good.
That game, Link's Awakening and Oracle of Ages and Seasons, I couldn't get into them because all of the micromanaging of your inventory.
I beat all of those, though that was annoying. It was definitely annoying. Consistently.
And the one they did somewhat like they mostly fixed it because they gave you an assigned sword button and an assigned shield button, and I think the gauntlets are just permanently on. So it's like you don't have to do it as much, but there still were ways they could have made it even better. Like they could have given you like a weapon wheel or something that you could just instantly switch between, because there's it's not that there's a ton of them, but there are a few that you need to use a lot, you know. So it's just like, why make it so I have to go into the menu at all? If
but you know, this is the thing. This was funny. I was like trying to get answers about this. I tweeted. I mean, I don't know. I've been doing this a bunch lately. I'll just say, like I was thinking about doing this with Code Vein. Code Vein has been discussed on V for a million years. Like the waifu creation, people are going hog wild about it. But like, I'm just like, okay, I could maybe enjoy the waifu playing as and like creation and jacking off to IO, like your waifu in the game or whatever. I could do that for like, I don't know, maybe even up to an hour. But once I'm done with that, I'm gonna want to actually play the game. It's apparently Dark Souls-esque. So like, I didn't do this yet, but I've been doing it with other games. I want to tweet like, so guys, is this game actually good?
People, right?
I think it is. I believe it is, but I'm not 100% sure. I know it was just in development for a million years.
Monster Hunter, so
I never got into it.
No, it's not Monster Hunter people. It's the one from the big difference. It's the one from the God Eater people.
Yes. Okay. It is like just like that one. Yeah.
But they're copying. They're trying. No, it's from the God Eater people, but I think it's like more of a Monster Hunter type of game, because I read an article about it in like a Game Informer or something before it came out.
Well, I mean, the way that ties into this Zelda thing is like, so I actually did do this with Zelda. I just tweeted like, guys, like, you know me. This was like mostly, I'm a nostalgia blinded old fuckboy. And I hate everything that's new, but like, just tell me, like, I want to play a game for the gameplay. The aesthetic will only last for like a little bit, then I'll get tired of it, because that's how I play games. I want good gameplay. Will I enjoy the new Zelda remake, considering that I've like loved every classic Zelda I played when I was young, and I'm okay with that kind of gameplay.
Which one's the new Zelda remake? Which game?
Link's Awakening was remade.
That was on the original on the Game Boy?
Correct.
That's correct.
Did I ask the same question last week?
No, but we did just cover this right now.
Okay, sorry. I was trading. I was completing the trade. The trade is done. I've given Master Slimal into Doopity Smoople, and I am now in possession of visiting Mayor Christine Weston Chandler's scalp in Endless War.
Congratulations.
It's in my pocket. Just had to announce it. I'm very excited.
Anyway. What the fuck were we talking about?
I'm saying Zelda. Will I actually like the Zelda gameplay?
I think that you would definitely prefer to just emulate the old game. Like, if you, I mean, I don't...
It's free, first of all. That's a big plus right there.
The fucking game is $60. It's only $5 hours long if you play it fast. Like, it's not a... They didn't change anything about it. It's the same fucking game. They just changed the aesthetic and the controls. So it's like, this is a Game Boy game. I bought it on the 3DS. It was like $8, maybe 10, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I was willing to pay that for the ease of playing it on my 3DS because I wanted to play it there. I had been playing a lot of 3DS. But, like, yeah, I play a lot of Switch, but fucking $60, I can literally just download this game and play it on any computer in the fucking house, and it's not that long, and that's how I played all the other classic Zelda games. It's not like there's a fucking collection pack where I can just buy all of these in one thing like you can do with Mega Man or Sonic or the entire fucking Sega Genesis library. Like, how fucking hard is it for them to just put together a pack of all the classic Zelda games?
Nintendo knows they don't have to,
because they can sell a $60 reskin.
They're the Apple of gaming. They can go against
before we go even further
weird shit
down, and like, I wanted to talk about hype for a bit, if we're still on that. The whole thing with like hype, I mean, in video games specifically, I don't feel it because I'm extremely cynical. Like, the last time I was hyped for any video game was Dark Souls 3, and since then I haven't really cared about anything that's come out.
Do you feel any hype at all for the promise of the next Hidetaka Miyazaki game?
Elden Ring.
I mean,
the one that's being written by the Game of Thrones guy.
I mean, yes and no. I mean,
when's
I'm sure
the
it'll be
next
interesting.
fucking book? When's Winds of Winter, George?
I don't know. Give it a couple years.
It's been like a fucking decade.
George is gonna
sure
drop
has.
dead, and we're all gonna die along with him.
I don't.
Elden Ring
But
is.
Wait, that's it. George.
Oh my God, that is it.
He's known for killing characters. His final act is tragically killing the ultimate character himself before the books are done. The ultimate twist.
He's gonna die at the ledger. Anyway,
he's gonna die at the ledge of the fucking cliff.
Yeah,
I push him off.
Usually with games, I'm not like, I don't get hype. For media in general, I don't get hype. But I do get the hype thing in other areas, and I have I've experienced the unbelievable anger that comes from somebody quashing my hype, which is why I understand the people who get upset about it, is because I forget exactly what the situation was, but I was like trying to figure out things with learning to draw art stuff, like just techniques or approaches that are, good or bad or whatever. And I was thinking I had something pretty good, and I was like talking about it, and then somebody comes in. Well, actually, I don't think I was talking about it, but I was reading people's things. I was like, yeah, this sounds really good. And then the people come in and say, by the way, all of that stuff was actually like really stupid, and provably so. Here's some examples of better artists who are explaining why that isn't true. And it was like, it destroyed me, and I got really mad, but I didn't say anything because, I was just like, they're right. They have the proof, and the anger was like, it was like
this thing is provably stupid.
In whatever way, I forget exactly.
Yeah.
The thing that the feeling is that I had hope. I had hope for this thing. I was invested in this approach. And I realized that, oh yeah, this doesn't make sense and it's stupid. And this guy came, he's destroyed my hope. And I feel like a lot of the reason people get hype for things is that they really want to be hopeful about something, and any negativity that gets in their way is just like, how fucking dare you? I have enough to deal with without you making video games upsetting for me. God damn.
People think that video games aren't serious enough business to like worry about this stuff with, which I understand to a degree.
It's 2019. The planet is dying. I just want to get hype for fucking what's that? Condemned? What was the one with the Conehead man?
Blasphemous.
I just want to be hyped for Blasphemous, and then you come in and tell me that the art is good, but the gameplay is mediocre. Get the fuck out of here! What am I supposed to live for?
Yeah, it's that. It's literally that feeling, and it's like, how do you fix that?
Well, you know what? Let me just give one other counterexample.
I just let my hype live. I don't care.
You know what? I'll tell you how you fix it. You do it the way that I've been enjoying video games, which is you go and watch videos of people reviewing old games, and then find out what ones are interesting, and then go play interesting old games and fuck all the new shit.
I'm not asking about specifically.
How is that more work? I don't get it.
I'm not specifically asking about like video game hype, because obviously the thing is just wait for it to come out and then look at reviews, so that you don't get disappointed. But like, I'm trying to figure out why people are so set on being hyped that it makes them so angry when people quash their hype or tell them not to get too excited. Because
it feels bad to
like I don't know whether people were this hopeful years ago. Is it because the world sucks more and we're so like we're so very
Obama got elected?
The world is like,
that's exactly why, Hippo.
We're
getting worse
like
and
linked
worse.
in. We're too linked in with the brain nodes to all of the bad things that are happening. We just want something.
Yeah,
probably.
I totally agree. I think
that is a real thing that's
sucks.
happening.
I've had people tell me that I like ruined anime for them. Because they started looking at it too critically, and now they
maybe
can't
anime was
anything.
never good, guys.
And I'm just like, well, I don't know how you could reach. Like, I don't know how I could bring you to that conclusion, because I'm thinking about it more critically than you are, and I still find shit to like all the time.
Dude, that's how I feel about. I shit on One Piece's little imperfections all the time, but I always end it with One Piece is my favorite thing ever, and people still take away that I'm like taking away their joy, which I find perplexing. But I mean it's the same phenomenon.
Mentality. Like, I love Dragon Age, but I also love all the videos that bash on Dragon Age, because it's so interesting to see like what sort of issues people have with Dragon Age, and I can go, oh, okay, that's
oh my
that's
god,
an interesting
I'm about to go very
view.
pretentious. You know what it is? It's that their love is shallow and not founded on critical thinking. It's founded on shallow hype. And so when we criticize from a deeper level perspective, they have lost their argument. They have nothing to fall back on because they haven't really thought about it until this point.
I think there's also a lot of identity tied up in it because nobody wants to have bad taste. And, like, there's a lot of reasons to like something. You don't have to like every part of it. Like, you should not expect to like absolutely everything about anything. Like, maybe you like 99% of it. There's only one thing that bothers you, but it's still, like, worth addressing. But there's some people who are like, if you point out that it's flawed at all, then it's like, oh shit, are you trying to tell me that my favorite thing isn't the best possible thing? Like, I can't be wrong about this. But it's like, you have enough experience to know that there are other things, other stories that are more complete, that don't have these issues that this thing has. And it's like, look, One Piece is my favorite thing. It has more good in it, more things I care about in it than anything else. But I have seen things that didn't fuck up the way this thing has. You know?
Let me tell you, there was one perfect example of this. I was talking to the Pod Discord boys yesterday about this issue. Like, this is the perfect example. Okay, so early on in One Piece, there's a thing called the log pose. This is just how they got through the Grand Line. This is how they traveled. Okay, cool. It's a compass that guides you along towards the end. Okay, but here's the thing. When they get to the new world, after like the halfway point after the time skip or whatever, like Nami gets a new log pose that has like 3 nodes. It's an upgrade. I believe it's only used one time to get them to Punk Hazard after they leave Fishman Island. It's like the first place they go after the time skip, basically. Okay. The log pose, like, Oda made a big deal out of this log pose and, like, establishing this was, he even goes on, like, a little spiel about in the narrative, like, this is how you will find your way further, you know, towards the end of the Grand Line in One Piece. But that log pose has not been used for the last, like, 5 arcs, and they've been traveling through totally other means. And it basically seems like the log pose, yes, it could come back to relevance later. It basically seems like it's been totally abandoned because after that plot point, Oda introduced a totally different, like, endpoint that doesn't involve the log pose basically at all with these road poneglyphs. And now those are the true way to get to, like, Raftel or Laugh's Tale and to, like, actually beat, like, he pretty clearly, he introduces this element at the beginning of, like, after the time skip as this is the new thing we're doing, but then he totally has scrapped it later, which to me just clearly reveals he did not actually have this plan all the way thought through, and he just changed tacks.
I don't see how any of this is necessarily a bad thing. Like, you're saying that, like, the fact that he didn't plan certain things makes your, like, does it make you dislike One Piece?
I mean, I guess you could argue that it's a little bit of, like,
time
wasted in the narrative, emotional investment in an arc.
You see, the thing is,
Oda
I like
this up
with
for the log pose.
The thing I like, one of the things I love about One Piece is that, you know, there's so many curveballs, despite the fact that it's been going on so long, and so many arcs are, like, on surface level seem similar, but a lot of things happen in them that are just so, like, unexpected, even though, you know.
I mean,
you know, what this reminds me of.
Well, hang on. The equivalent. There's an equivalent to this. There was a time when, before the time skip, the Straw Hats meet this guy Papagu. He's a starfish. He says, "I'm best friends with the Mermaid Princess." After the time skip, like, because Oda did not plan this, after the time skip, when they meet Papagu, they're like, "Hey, didn't you say you were friends with the Mermaid Princess?" And the character says, because now, like, the way that Oda writes the story, it wouldn't make sense for him to have met the Mermaid Princess. Papagu says, "Shh, oops, I was lying before." That is clear indication of Oda thinking on his feet, having to change. Like, what, did this character canonically lie for no other reason other than to appear a little bit shady later? No, that's because that's not the guy's character.
I mean,
it doesn't inform him at all in any other way.
First
it's just
appearance,
a flaw.
Surely, like, he was always a bit of a showboating, like.
Don't defend it. You know,
I'm not defending it, but I'm criticizing your criticism. You're saying it's absolutely, like, certified proof that Oda.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's very strong.
Well, then I'm
evidence
saying
that
there's room for it to not, like, Papagu is like, he was kind of like that. I mean, it's kind of stupid, but I don't think that in any way, like, lessens my appreciation of the thing. It's just sort of.
Look, it just means it's a flaw. It doesn't ruin One Piece. It's just clearly, it's not 100% confirmed, but it's very likely just proof. I mean, to get the reason for the log post thing, the point of this all is that when you introduce a plot element that you expect to be capitalized on, and the narrative sets you up, like the log pose served great purpose through the beginning of One Piece and absolutely fulfilled its function, and I have no criticisms. But when he goes all out of his way to introduce that it's going to be used in this way, and then totally changes tack, that's where it's like, oh, like I thought we were gonna, like, maybe the new thing is even better. But it's not crazy to be like, oh, you kind of dropped this other thing. I guess that's too bad. Maybe it's for the best, but like, I just wish you hadn't bothered doing that before, since, you know, it wasn't going to do anything.
Nate, what this reminds me of in another manga that I know all three of us have read is Bakuman, where, so like, in Bakuman, which is like, it's my favorite manga, you know, like so much good shit happens. It's so interesting as a look into the industry, and especially into the magazine of Shonen Jump, and like the mentality which with these stories are being written, which you can also apply to the manga itself, which is really interesting in a meta sense, because like in Bakuman, they're writing a story that is clearly based on Death Note, which they had for real, the same guys had written. Yeah. And like in Bakugan, they're saying that they want to end the series when the rivalry ends. Like when one of the characters dies and like there's nothing more to the rivalry, that's where the manga should end. But they're already making an anime adaptation, so the animators are like, can you keep the manga running? And in Bakuman, they do not. They cancel the manga so that it can have a real ending, and it ends up working out. But that's not what happened with Death Note. Yeah. Death Note had continued on, and everybody hates the later section. So obviously they're trying to explain why that happened and kind of make good on it in the next manga. Like, we get to live the fantasy.
Live out the fantasy of what if we could have ended the story when we wanted to end it.
But the funny thing about it is that Bakuman also teaches us basically
L did nothing wrong. Light did nothing wrong.
that Shonen Jump manga are designed to go on for as long as possible. Like they might have an ending in mind, and certain ones are designed to be shorter. But like One Piece was designed, for instance, with the capacity to go for as long as Oda had continued to have ideas. And
indeed,
inevitably, if he keeps adding in new things, like I'm sure he does have the ending planned and like the basic structure of the story planned, but like, you know, he wants to add in new stuff, and sometimes he adds in something and then going along just is like, oh, this isn't as good of an idea, or like, oh, I had a better idea later of what this could have been. Let's just go with that instead, you know? Like, let's
You're
just
totally
replace
right,
it.
Digi.
And like,
such things are 100% inevitable. I simply will not ignore when I notice
and the
flaws.
funny thing about it is that Bakuman shows you how that's the case, but it also has that flaw itself, because they introduced this character relatively like later into the series, because like most of the stuff that the main characters have had to deal with is like their personal growth in the early part of the manga. Then once they've like started to become successful, they deal with the problem of having a shitty editor, and that's like a whole arc. It's like volumes of them dealing with this editor, and then they reach the stage where they have to be competitive with other people who are other manga authors in the magazine. Everybody's starting new series. They all have to keep their stuff interesting. They struggle with, you know, different kinds of things. And then there's the part where they discover the serious comedy, which is like their personal style that they're going to use to get popular, which you can see in Death Note, you know, so it all ties into a good meta tapestry. But then, like 14 volumes in, they introduce a character who's like a weird mastermind character. He's like this evil guy who's like hiring old manga authors to...
You mean, is this the guy who writes by committee?
Yeah, the guy who like... Yeah, he... Yeah. Well, it was the guy who was like trying to overthrow... He was like trying to make it to #1 by coming up with really crazy concepts and giving them to like old retired manga authors.
The guy who made
Panty
Flash Fight, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He creates Panty Flash Fight. And like it like because of Panty Flash Fight being so great and his introduction, like his first arc is okay, but it's kind of weird because he's a very different, like he's not a realistic character, you know? Like up to this point, this has felt like a real story about what happens when you create manga for Jump. Now we've got like a supervillain. And then they kind of beat him and the story continues along, but then really weirdly, like 3 or 4 volumes before the end of the manga, because it's 20 volumes long, they reintroduce him, and they start setting up for a second, even more complicated arc where he has a really weird scheme that didn't really make sense.
No, the second arc is he has like a team. He hires like a whole team who they write by committee basically, and
but it was kind of unclear what his goals were, and like ultimately this arc just kind of it's like setting up, but then it's taking too long, and it's clear at this point that like we're close enough to the end of Bakuman's story that we do not need another arc. Like this manga could end, it could wrap up soon, and it would be satisfying. We're already well into the characters' careers. All that's really left is to finish off the like central romance and all that stuff, like, and get them the #1 manga, wrap up Reverse Eye. But like we've introduced this new villain arc, and then it just kind of wraps. And it's obviously because people saw this and went, this isn't really that interesting, and the authors kind of went, yeah, fuck it. And like it ends really abruptly, this arc. Like it still seems like it's in the setup phase, and then all of a sudden they like wrap everything up and boot him from the story, and then there's just like a volume and a half left before the story ends. And I really think it was like, they thought they could just keep it going, but then they started this arc and it was kind of retarded.
Well,
so they just said, fuck it, let's move on.
I remember that character pretty well because he embodied like it was basically like this when he comes back for the set. He's got this team that he hired to sort of like all like get together and make a think tank about like what would be the perfect manga, and like they kind of do it and it's kind of working. But then that one older guy comes in and he just like tells this like story he's had in his head for years, and it's like his passion project, and it beats them in the polls or something. So like, I mean, I'm sure they could have done more with that arc, but like, I mean, that character in that arc is there for a reason, and like it does explore a theme.
I just remember it feeling weird that he came back. That like they had thoroughly bested this guy, and then like in the like such a late stage of the game when like we really are. We're more focused on the main characters and, like, them wrapping up their arcs, and then all of a sudden this shit comes out of nowhere, and there's a ton of exposition, like, tons of explaining what this plan is, and it was just kind of like, this is like a diversion, this is not as interesting as the main story, and then it just kind of wraps up, and then the story ends,
It's true that...
So I always saw it as, like, a slight black mark on the series.
It's true, those guys aren't as interesting. That villain is not as interesting as, like, the main character's, like, personal struggle and whatever. I think that's, like... Okay, I guess it's, like, the manga's attempt to sort of comment on, like, a trend in manga that maybe the authors don't really approve of, like the like outsourcing your writing, like or writing by committee. Yeah, I think they're good ideas. My like as time has gone on, I've become a little more annoyed by how much apologia Bakuman engages in for like the like just like the worst tendencies of the manga and like Japanese cultural markets in general. Like the way that it sort of criticizes the whole idol thing and like, isn't it wacky that they're not allowed to have boyfriends so people can imagine that they could date them one day? It doesn't go hard enough into like weird shit like that. I don't know. It's a little too. Well, it's a little too willing to forgive the manga industry and be like, that's just the way it is.
It
Isn't
doesn't
that
really
crazy?
also comment on like it doesn't really criticize the like absurd crunch that is the job.
Yeah.
Like it
sort of
presents it as
it.
it is. But it's just kind of like,
absolutely.
well, it's just like the people who work for Jump. It's like, I mean, you got to be this kind of person, like.
Yeah, I mean, and just consider, like, the people writing the story are people who chose this lifestyle. It seems reasonable they would, be pretty into it, unless they like hate it, but they're choosing to do it. So I assume they find some value in it.
I've definitely seen a bunch of criticisms of Bakuman online from people who like work in the manga industry and just felt that like it didn't present it realistically enough, like in terms of the troubles of it, and like. Even though the manga does go out of its way to have the characters encounter like lots of common problems that happen to people, like through just the necessity of the fact that it's a story about them becoming the #1, So like ultimately things are gonna go better than they normally would because most manga authors don't make it to #1.
These long characters are major criticism.
Deliberately create like they are the perfect mangaka.
Yeah.
I love Bakuman. I've long had a criticism is that the one-itis of the main character disgusts me. It utterly repulses
The romance
me. His
is pretty
obsession with the one
cheesy.
girl. Like, who even cares?
don't
I'm not
like
even
it.
interested in the. It serves as a good motivation.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I never cared about the girl.
I mean,
at
it would
all.
have been better if they had
That's
just made her more of a character. Like, she's just kind of a trophy.
Yeah,
for him,
absolutely.
You know?
I wanted. If she had like an arc, that'd be great. Her arc is non-existent. I mean, I guess it's her becoming a voice actor.
Pretty
There's
much
something.
just a MacGuffin for like 95% of it.
She does become a successful voice actress, but like we barely focus on that at all.
She
so.
has a story, just not like a character arc. She doesn't have to
maybe
evolve as a
maybe that
person
story
much.
is covered in Girl Jump. I mean, I don't read Girl Jump. I read Shonen
that's like,
Jump because I'm a boy.
Her
I'm a big
character
boy.
doesn't really do that much, but like I guess they used her as sort of a vehicle. They comment on the whole idol thing, which is like, yeah, okay, that's. I guess you wanted to talk about that. You should have gone harder.
That I need to
on it.
watch. What's that anime you love so much, Digi? With the guys becoming animators and becoming
Shirobako.
all their friends. Shirobako.
You haven't seen
Gotta watch
Shirobako?
that.
Even I've seen Shirobako.
I've been fucking around, Ben. I've been
That's
fucking
fucking
around.
whack.
All right,
Jack.
I know.
I'm a
I
little
know.
mad still about like the
yeah.
One Piece, like the thing with the Papaku.
Okay, I went a little hard there.
Well, it's like, I have like a thing because it's like the ending of Death Note where it continued beyond the point where it should have ended. That's like a flaw that I feel is a notable flaw, and I could understand people getting upset about it, and I could also understand people ignoring it, but, it's more understandable that people would be upset. Something like the whole, like, Papagu lied thing, it's so insignificant.
Papagu lied, people died, Gib, and that
it's like,
can't be
why
denied.
would anyone devote memory to like I've read the thing. I remember him saying that when you say it, but like
Well,
it doesn't
some of
affect
us
me
just
so much to like
I
devote
think
any
it's
memory
just
to it.
It's Nate's autism is the
Yeah, I was
problem.
gonna say,
It's
autism
like
is a hell of a
specific.
drug.
It's like you can't. That some of us cannot erase this thing from our minds. It's like just the knowledge that, like, knowing Nate and knowing Ben, because you guys are both really into stories being as robust as possible. That like every question has an answer, everything like makes sense in context, and it's like, it's not that you expect One Piece to be perfect. It's not that you would most like it to have been perfect, but it's no big deal because in the end there's just so much in One Piece that it's like it's not comparable to anything else. It's like if that takes it down from like a 100 to a 999 a 1000 to a 999.
Yeah.
The next show is at like a 7,000.
I mean, nothing's a
700,
1,000.
Yes.
Right,
Indeed.
like that's again, like let's say that you're thinking of it as like a 954, and this takes it down to a 943. Again, the next show is at a 700. So
I mean, it's like you make a pie, and maybe you burn a little bit of the maybe that's got a lump in it or something. But like, it doesn't make it a bad pie. It doesn't really even make it a worse pie. It makes it a rustic pie. You can see. That's the author's finger. That's the author's fingerprint.
You run into a little gristle in your steak. You just pull that shit out of your mouth and put it on the side of the plate, and you go, "Man, I wish I didn't have to look at this on the side of my plate." But whatever. The steak is fucking
remember
delicious.
that time that Oda introduced that one guy, and he said this one thing, and then like the next time he was like, "Oh, I was just lying about that." Haha. What a gas.
It was just such a small moment. I think it's just that I can't imagine devoting like part of like I've only got so much memory. I've only got so many gigabytes in my brain. Like I'd rather fill it with like joy than like anything that's like stupid.
Well, I mean, surely you realize you're memory shaming me
Yes.
right now, Gabe. Surely you understand that this is unacceptable behavior.
I know. I mean, if anything, I'm memory
Gabe,
shaming me because I have less, maybe. And then you have
My
so
only
much
point on
because
this-
you have like a big brain or
Sure.
something, and you got all the One
something
Piece
like that.
flaws, like take up like 1,000 terabytes.
It's just that when I point out stuff like this, I get your perspective, Gib, and we've long approached One Piece. At the very beginning of our show, we approached it even from more kind of different perspectives. You said that, I think you said something like you didn't understand One Piece had flaws. Or I'm not trying to say you're
No,
dumb.
I think
I'm
I
just,
said it like
you
that.
said something
like
along
I
those
never
lines.
like I just loved it so much that like
I
criticizing
have a
it was
question.
never even in my brain.
Hippo, how many times have you read through One Piece all the way?
I haven't read through it all the way. I've watched the anime all the way to like episode like 500 a couple times.
Good lord.
Even I haven't read every single chapter going back. I just go back and regularly read excerpts from here and there,
it just seems
over time.
Nate, it seems like you are always going back through shit. So I wonder
Dude,
if you
in
just
yesterday's
remember more
discussion,
because of
I
that.
pulled from we went back yesterday arguing about exactly what Raftel was, arguing about poneglyphs. I went and reread several chapters to do research for this ongoing live discussion that benefited me 0%, just because I wanted to make sure I had the correct information. So that's the way I consume.
I did go back kind of recently to reread Dressrosa, which is one of the longest and controversialist arcs because of the amount of stuff that gets shoved into it, and it sort of makes it the second half of it sort of ruins. It gets ruined by the amount of character climaxes that are supposed to be going on, and nothing. I wanted to make sure that hindsight, we weren't shitting on it too hard or anything.
Do you stand by your general feelings before? Is it overstuffed?
Oh yeah, I mean it's overstuffed. The first half of Dressrosa is really good though, which is why I think I understand why people still like it. Is they think of the first half of it, and then
there's plenty of good.
Then it's just sort of there's 3 characters that have a backstory, that have a climax with the final fight with everyone. If you had only one of those, it would be a perfect, really good arc. But because there's 2 or 3, then it's just too much.
Here's one of the problems is that we're something with Skypiea, everything perfectly in a writing sense swirled into the ringing of the bell. Every character had attachment to the ringing of the bell and the defeat of Eneru. With Dressrosa, for example, it's totally separate plots that vaguely tie into Doflamingo, but they're kind of just independent. Rebecca and Kairos, their mom getting killed by Diamante. Sure, that technically ties into Doflamingo, but really that was a Diamante thing, and so they fight him and get revenge on him. It wasn't really Doflamingo personally.
Yeah, it's if it was Doflamingo ruined this kingdom, the story, then it would be great.
Yeah.
If it was Doflamingo ruined Law's backstory, without Dressrosa, then it would be great. But because it's both, neither character has a satisfying end at the end of that. Anyway,
and let me just say my one final point on the One Piece subject is just that a lot of people, I love One Piece, but people hear me talk about it critically a lot because those are the main things that I focus on, because I don't know, maybe that's just how my brain's wired. I find them interesting, but it's just true that none of this moves the needle particularly far. And when I bring up these little examples like Papagoo, that being a mistake, these are just examples that, I have a pretty good memory of One Piece stuff, generally speaking. I don't remember everything. It's just that I remember them, but it doesn't keep me, people disproportionately think they bother me or disproportionately make me think that One Piece is way worse than I actually think it is.
It's not that I think that you hate One Piece because of Papagoo, but it's I guess I question the motivation to devote memory to this.
I don't think I have a choice.
If it builds up to such a level, will you hate One Piece more? If it's death by 1,000 cuts.
If the flaws of One Piece,
I feel if
the flaws of One Piece piled up, then absolutely,
I feel like
nothing is sacred.
Small flaws like Papagoo, happening, a lot, would be not that bad, but a big flaw would be. If it ended badly, then
depends.
It would be bad. But if there was a bunch of Papagoos,
there's fears that One Piece will end badly, and I don't the things like the Papagoo mistake. What they really do is they reveal that Papagoo thing really reveals he did not 100% plan that arc. That doesn't really matter to me.
I would still argue that it does not
that's a
necessarily
bit more
reveal
important.
that.
Okay. I think it does. But
I could imagine the reason is because him knowing the princess got you hyped for meeting the princess thanks to Papagoo or something. I just didn't think...
I didn't even really care about that.
Well, that's the thing. If it didn't matter when it was set up, then when it gets, when the setup doesn't have... The setup that you didn't care about didn't have a payoff, or had a payoff that you didn't care about, then what is the problem?
Because what is the issue there is that it reveals Oda did not have a plan, and it caused him to make a mistake in his narrative.
I can't... Oh, whatever.
Look, you can just say the good outweighs the bad, so it doesn't matter to you. That's fine.
I'm arguing that the bad that you're explaining is not bad. It's not even a thing.
Well, then I guess we just disagree. I've made my case.
Die.
Listen, let me just go way back to the beginning of this, because I've got one final point. We can move on, talk about anything else. It's just that, so way back when we were talking about Zelda, I just want, like, because I tweeted, like, hey, guys, tell me if Zelda's good or bad. It was interesting to me for what most people said. When I said, guys, is this game good? Most people said that, like, Nate, you'll like it, without giving a lot of detail. The people who gave more detail would say, like, it still plays fun. If you liked old Zeldas, you like that. But there was a very large contingent of people who were just saying, like, it looks great, play it, like, it's fun. These are very general, non-specific terms, and I don't blame anybody for not giving me the exact details that I would find most interesting. I'm just asking random people on Twitter. There's nothing wrong with that. But it was Digi's video. It was Digi's video that gave me the kind of detail I wanted. I mean, Digi hadn't played a ton, but just that one observation, that, like, in the original, everything's broken into square units, and, like, as a result of that, the village feels bigger. It, like, that's how it was intended to be played. That was the design that went into it. And by radically changing how the game plays, it totally changes how the game feels. And these illusions we create for ourselves, Digi's point, I thought this was a brilliant point. Like, it's way easier in the original to feel that this is an abstraction of a village that, like, in quote-unquote real life would be, you know, bigger, have more to do, et cetera, et cetera. But by making it like a playhouse, and that's the design sense they're going for, like, now it feels real, but like, oh, this really is like an insubstantial village. It really is that this isn't like a real village, and that I'm not as into that.
Well,
as
there's one thing that I had not observed when I made the video, because I haven't actually played the game, and it's an argument that I think can work to make the game interesting. It's still very different from the original. It still changes it fundamentally, but the thing about Link's Awakening, and I guess this is a spoiler, but
I don't care.
Whatever. The whole game is a dream, because Link, you know, it's the same Link from A Link to the Past. He is knocked out during a storm, and in both versions of the game, the opening cutscene is an anime cinematic. It's like, in the original game, you see him as like a full-bodied, you know, Link. He looks like the Link from A Link to the Past if he was drawn as an anime character, you know. But, like, you know, when you see the Game Boy graphics, again, you think of it as an abstract representation of that character. When you see it in Link's Awakening, they still have the cutscene where he is drawn as, like, a fully formed man. So, it's only in the dream world that he looks like a playset. And, you know, there's the tinges on the edge of the screen where everything has that, like, blur effect. So you could argue that even though it is literally meant to look like a playset, it is a dream world. And, like, in the real world, Link is the Link from A Link to the Past. He is still drawn as an adult man. This is just what the world looks like inside his dream. And so that's kind of good, but it still changes everything.
Yeah, it's kind of good, but it's like that wasn't the intention of the world in the Game Boy original.
No, it was not portrayed that way. It was more meant to just feel like a fever dream version of A Link to the Past, you know? Like, it's meant to be a direct sequel. I mean, in the original, I think it's more of a twist to realize that it's all a dream, you know?
And you could argue that that's more valuable.
I think, like, generally, you should err on the side of the original, especially if it's a short game. You play that first, and then the new game will just be like, oh, quality of life improvements, you know? It looks nicer. And then the original experience is maintained.
Yeah, like, because I'm in the position of I beat Link's Awakening like 5 years ago, like, I'm in the perfect moment where I'm not. I would rather play the new version with the new art style and the new controls just to play. If I'm gonna play it again, why not play this one? But, like, if I was right now today in a situation where I had never played either one, I would 100% recommend DX over the new game, because the new game is $60. And DX you can play for free. And, like, it's great. It's a great fucking game. You will not be let down. Like, we live streamed it for my last live stream, and May was having the time of her fucking life playing that game. She's like 2 hours of just, like, not even paying attention to what I was talking about in the chat, just being, like, completely enthralled in this fucking Game Boy game. Because, like, it takes you back, man.
Those classic top-down Zeldas are great. I played them all. I fucking loved them back in the day.
I love Zelda 1. I love A Link to the Past. I think Zelda 2 would probably be a fun game if it wasn't such a fucking pain in the ass. But that one plays totally different.
Oracle of Seasons and Ages were, like, my favorite games growing up. They were so fucking sick.
The Minish Cap is, like, one of my top.
That too. Fucking love that.
I fucking loved the
shit out of. I never had a GameCube, so I never played Wind Waker, but I loved Phantom Hourglass. I thought Phantom Hourglass was the shit.
I had that as well.
I did not play that because of the fact that you have to control Link with the touchscreen, and it was just like...
Just let me tell you this, lads. You have a journal in that game, and one of the things you have to do is in a certain dungeon, like, it uses the 2 dual screen. The DS was the best console ever made. Fuck every other console. And, like, one of the things you have to do is you have to stamp your thing. You have to physically fucking close and open the fucking DS to, like, stamp your journal. I went gadzooks for that shit. It was the best. You have to blow in the microphone to blow away sand. Come on, you can't get that kind of quality with a fucking Switch, with a piece of shit PC. What, are they gonna fucking emulate
What about
that shit?
the Wii U?
You can probably do it on the Wii U. That's a decent
You
concept.
can blow
I miss
the
the Wii U.
Yeah, you snap it and I'm gonna snap my Switch in half as I'm emulating the fucking Phantom Hourglass on that fucking game.
You just have to buy a Switch Lite and tape them together. That's their
exactly.
long game
The console
all along.
gimmicks are great, and I fucking love them.
I know
and
I've
miss
basically given up and become a Switch man, but like it still makes me sad to think about the fact that I think the Wii U is better as an idea. Like having the 2 screens, like the 2 screens was a great idea on the DS and the 3DS, and translating it to a console was a great idea.
I still really want to play
It
Zombie
made Zelda
U.
the best
it's
it
like
could possibly
$5
be.
now.
Is Zombie U good? Why are you so interested in that?
I have no idea. It's like such a fucking good, cool idea of the Wii U. Because like the way Zombie U works is that the game, it's like a first person zombie apocalypse kind of game. And you walk around, you kill zombies and shit. But the controller is your backpack, and that's how you do all your item management and stuff. And there's no pause, so every time you do your items, you have to look down and not look at the zombies that are around you and fiddle with shit. And you can get fucking attacked at any time.
That's great.
Bruh, Fatal fucking Frame. In Fatal Frame 3, you use the Wii U gamepad as the camera. So you hold it up to the screen and like take pictures of shit.
It's fascinating.
It's fucking genius.
I'm still.
They should have made Pokemon Snap with it.
I was about to say.
Oh my god, what were they thinking?
I've been screaming about that ever since the fucking Wii U came out. I'm like, how is there no fucking Pokemon Snap? This is bullshit.
That's a big oof for me, lads. That's a big Gomendasai from Nintendo, if there ever was one.
I don't know if we'll ever get another Pokemon Snap, but I have a video.
The Switch could still do it. Fucking turn the Switch around like a fucking, I don't know, like a camera.
Do they have a
Kinda
camera on
works.
that?
I don't know. Well, no, I mean, you just
no.
like hold it up and like spin around and...
Oh, yeah.
But,
I don't know. Kind of works.
I have a video that'll probably come out before this podcast that's about how they need to bring back Pokemon Puzzle Challenge as well.
Fuck yeah.
Shit.
All right, well, that's enough about all this shit.
I forgot to mention something that happened to me this week. Was me getting trolled.
No!
That?
Is that video?
Oh
you
yeah,
uploaded?
I saw that.
Wait,
shit.
what?
The one on
What was it?
It's on Twitch. I clipped it. The video is called Ben Saint gets epically trolled by Ween CWC defenders, and it was just a bizarre interaction I had. I was on Twitch doing my stream, doing a draw stream for the Nightstar comic, and these kids start messaging me on Discord. I assume they're kids, and they're saying
kids.
"Hey, I got some interesting stuff to tell you." And I'm like, and I say in the stream, like this, what are these guys telling me these creepy messages? And they give me a call, and I decide to talk to them on stream. And it turns out these are like 3 guys and this one like autistic girl who it later turns out is being like blackmailed to like go along with them. Like she joins the RFCK and she says like, yeah, these guys aren't my friends. These guys are fucking, these are like literally blackmailing me and threatening to dox me and stuff.
Right.
And these guys, they get in.
Good Christian boys.
They get in my call, and I'm like, hey, guys, what's up? And they tell me, like, you better stop talking to Chris. She's our fucking Mark. I mean, they keep pretending that, like, they're her real friends, and I'm, like, muscling in on it. But, like, they're talking like they're mafiosos. They have this weird affective importance. They, like, threaten me. They say, like, we'll be keeping an eye on you. Like, everybody's watching you now that you're interacting with Chris. Like, they say, don't touch
the poo.
Don't touch the poop. They're like, they say Chris is their friend, but they're like, don't touch the poop. Because like,
and they keep calling and keep misgendering.
They
Chris
can,
as well,
they keep misgendering Chris, and I'm like, hey, you guys should use the pronouns she asked for, and they're like, nah, me and him have an understanding. These are like
That's nonsense.
It's total nonsense. These are obviously
hilarious.
not Chris's friends. They're obviously some shitty trolls.
I mean, yeah.
They fucking, and then after the call, they keep messaging me. They're like threatening me to dox me. They went into RFCK and like literally doxed me, but like nobody cared, and because like that's like the weirdest place to dox me in. Like who would do anything?
Yeah, it's not the right place to do it. Yeah.
So they do that, and I don't know. It was fucking bizarre. I don't know what's going on with these dudes.
You're tapping into some primal forces, some realms beyond that which we understand, I suppose, with this. I mean, this is a big league, lolcow, Chris.
Yeah,
with some
I guess
big
so.
people.
It was so strange listening to them, because there was parts where they were implying like, oh, don't hurt our friend, but also like if you do, like you may as well make it entertaining for us. It's like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah. No, one person was like, "Hey, don't be mean to Chris." The other was straight up like, "Make it entertaining. You need to make this entertaining for us." There's a difference of feelings even going on between this group.
You better like deliver with that comic, because there's a lot of more people watching it now. Things like that. It was just really funny.
The bits were like, we're gonna, we'll be in touch. Yeah, we'll be watching you. We'll all be watching you.
Ben, as I believe this is anonymous, and they do not forgive, and they do not.
This is
forget,
not
so
anonymous. They claim to be from Kiwi Farms, and I saw a couple people talking about the incident on Kiwi Farms, and the overwhelming response was, yeah, these guys are embarrassing. It was just bemusement, especially.
It doesn't strike me that there's a lot of solidarity among the Kiwi Farms.
More like
like any one of these like troll people who extends above, like who raises their head above the crowd. Just knowing the Kiwi Farms a little bit, I expect them to be struck down as what makes you so special, sir.
Like if you actually cared about Kiwi Farms for whatever reason, like
I don't.
I know. But if you were a troll or whatever, and you're like, I'm like, on behalf of Kiwi Farms, I will strike a blow against the enemy. You wouldn't show up and be like, hey, so I'm here on behalf of Kiwi Farms to say fuck you. Like, nobody would.
Ben,
do you have a Kiwi Farms thread about you?
No,
I probably will soon at this rate.
I mean, I am lately, because of the Nightstar comic, I've been brought up a bit in the Chris Chan thread, and there is like an old super thread called like Morons Who Talk About Chris Online, which I am like my video is mentioned in. But I don't have like a thread about
I think like a lot of the PCP shit talk gets just rolled into my thread.
I think so.
Probably.
Because I have a
people
big
still
thread.
To this day think of the PCP as Digibros podcast about anime exclusively.
Well, if you're on the outside looking in, that's probably how it looks.
I don't think anybody's under the illusion that this is a podcast about anime at this point. I think we've
only maybe
that.
People who have like who just heard about it for the first time and are like, oh, a podcast that Digibros on?
The less information you know, the more likely you are to think it's Digibros podcast about anime, potentially.
I mean, the thing is, I don't really promote the PCP anymore. So, like, whatever growth it has is from people if new people are coming from me, they would have to really, like, get into like the Discord and like find out about you guys before they were gonna know the podcast. And like I do have people in there who are like, oh yeah, I've listened to PCP, but I've never even like watched any of certain people's videos. Usually there's one or two people they have though. It'll be like, oh, I'm a huge fan of you and Give and Take, and I don't watch nobody else in that motherfucking thing, and I'm tired of hearing Ben's fucking ass talk about politics.
Fuck Rubes.
Classic line.
And like, I think there's two general camps. Like, I do think that still to this day, a bulk of PCP fans were at the very least have been my fans at some point. Like, like whether they necessarily came from me or not, like, I think there's not a ton of people who are like huge PCP fans who don't like Digibro shit.
I mean, there is a contingent of people who have been around since the Pony days.
Yeah, but sure. I also think that like there's a lot of people who are much more into Endless War than they are into my shit or anybody else's shit.
The Endless War subgroup is like you took the PCP fan base, squeezed it, and a little like tumor protrusion like squeezed out to the side. And that's the Endless War people.
It's a double-edged sword in a way, because the double-edged of the Endless War people are probably like the most engaged with the PCP because of the fact that several of us are in it and they come to the meetups and stuff like that, and like oftentimes again a lot of them are also fans of all of our content anyways because they found Endless War through the PCP, so it's like they're Endless War fans and PCP fans. Cool. Those people are very supportive and they give us a lot of money and stuff like that. But
I mean,
it also does make the podcast harder to penetrate for if we did want new people. So it's like it's like the favorite thing of people who are deep lore. Yeah. But if you were to go listen, like I've often said, if you were to just like put on a random PCP episode from recent times, it really depends on what the topics happen to be. Like this episode, probably fairly accessible. But, like, if you didn't know who any of us are, you've never heard of Endless War, you literally have no idea what we're talking about right now, you know?
That's right.
And, like, there's definitely episodes that start off with, like, the one where you guys talked about the meetup in London, I think?
Yeah.
No.
There was one about that. Yeah.
It would have been totally incomprehensible to anybody who didn't have, like, at least a modicum of knowledge.
How hardcore you have to be. Make, like, a playlist of, like, the basic bitch ones.
Like a Scoville rating on each thumbnail.
I've got good news for everyone, because what could be more accessible than a simple $5 pledge to join the PCP Minecraft heads and our new faction that will absolutely dethrone the RFCK fuckboys.
It would be really
and
funny
we will be
if that
dominant
happened,
and supreme.
because I'm also definitely not going to play Minecraft. So,
Indeed.
like, that would just be another sphere where I would just be like, oh, Nate and Mage are talking about Minecraft shit now. Munchie and Ben are talking about Ratty Fuckers Cop Killers. Nate and Mage are talking about Minecraft.
Me and
Tom and Gib are talking about their
Podcast.
comics. You guys are talking about Podcast, and I'm just talking about my latest research into the world of autism. And
we're all great.
That's all I've got.
Seems pretty good.
It's kind of a cool mix. I kind of like it.
It's like
Do you guys want to hear my latest research into the world of autism?
Yeah, man.
Sure.
Lay it on us.
I've come up with an autism rating scale.
All right.
There are seven different levels of autism present on the internet. And I can categorize them by the kind of stuff that they like. I'm planning to make a video where I'm going to do just anime, like an anime autism chart. Like, how autistic is this anime? And, like, grade everything. So there's basically how autistic you are comes down to how obsessed you are with things on, like, a systemic level, like how much like detail and complication you either require there to be for you to enjoy something, or that you yourself read into the things you enjoy. And there's different sliding scales, like different shows have different intelligence levels, which contributes to people's ability to enjoy them. And generally, you can enjoy, like, if you're a level 1 autist, you can probably enjoy things going down to level 3 autism, but any more autistic than that, and it becomes harder for you to enjoy.
I see.
But there are some people who are, like, autistic authors who can project, like, they can make stories that are less autistic than themselves. So, for instance, Quentin Tarantino, probably a level 3 or 4 autist, but he makes level 2 autism works. So, Quentin Tarantino movies, level 2 autism. Generally, even the general public can appreciate something as low as level 2 autism. That's, like, not so autistic as to be
question before
foreboding
you continue,
to the average general public.
Is everything on the autistic spectrum, or is there non-autistic work?
Yeah, good question.
There is non-autistic work. All anime is at least level 1 autism. There is no way to watch anime with no autism.
To get a sense of scale, is somebody like Ulalilia like a 7?
He is a 6 on my scale.
What's a 7? Do you have any examples?
New Storyteller.
All right.
The New Storyteller is a 7.
I see.
So the way the scale goes is basically like this. Level 1 autism is basically where the reason that you're into anime, like Dragon Ball Z is a level 1 autism show, because the autistic elements of it are like the power levels and the fact that it's like a super long form narrative with a large cast. So, like, there's things to keep track of, but if you are, like, really into keeping track of things, you'll quickly realize that there's tons of plot holes and ass pulls and retcons, and just the story doesn't seem to care enough about itself. So if you're, like, autistic enough to really care about that shit, or intelligent enough, because those are all also, like, there's elements of the intelligence of construction. I'm planning to make a chart for, like, basically each show will have an autism level, an intelligence level.
It's like a political
whether it appeals more
chart,
to masculine or feminine people.
Where do these charts? Where do these charts appear on the scale?
The good question. The charts themselves, they got to be pretty high.
The charts themselves are like level 3 to borderline on level 4 autism, which is where I sit. I'm like I'm like a little bit more than level 3. But like going down into level 4, which is the Evangelion tier, is level 3 autism. Like,
I see.
And so basically, depending on what tier you're on, it is most likely that the things that are on that tier will be your absolute favorite things. Like, even if you find flaws in them, because they are like perfectly on your autism wavelength, it's like, this is my favorite thing, you know? So for instance, something that I would put in between level 1 and level 2 autism is One Piece. One Piece gets more into level 2 because of the sheer amount of shit that there is to keep track of if you're keeping track of all of it. You don't have to keep track of all of it to enjoy the show, so it can appeal to more normie tastes as well. But people like Nate, who I would consider to be a level 2 autist, are into it for the level 2 autist reasons. I, as a level 3 autist, am into stuff like Ava that has more of a meta, like I'm more into the meta outside of the work itself. Like the involvement of its place in history, the people who created it, its like comment on itself as a work, you know, stuff like Homestuck, level 3 autism, you know? And like, even if you are level 2, you could, you know, a level 3 autism thing might be your favorite thing if it's just so good, you know? And like, you're like, yeah, I might not be quite autistic enough to love everything about this, but it's so fucking good, you know?
I have a question then, because like I'm super into Homestuck in every aspect. Like I'm a big Homestuck autist, but like I can also like look over the things that Nate can't look over in One Piece, which is less. How's that work?
I think that different people have different priorities in what they think makes the story good or bad. I think that like the level 2 autist I consider to be okay. So here's something. There's interesting things that happen as we go down the autistic spectrum, because on the one hand, the lower you go, the more like broad and ridiculous the systems of the story become. But also, you care less and less about it being good, like in air quotes. Like people at like level 1 and 2 probably care the most about everything like being functional. Like they want it to be like believable in the end. Like, you know, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a perfect example of a show that like people enjoy because it seems logical even if everything happening is batshit.
No, it's not at all, and it's totally riddled with mistakes and shit.
But like so I would put that at like level 1.5 autism, you know? It's got tons of shit for you to sink your teeth into if you like the deeper stuff, but it doesn't do quite a good enough job to satisfy a level 2 autist who wants everything to be like dotted every I, cross every T. But when you get to level 3, it's where you kind of enjoy the chaos more than the order. It's like you don't even care as much about it answering all of its questions if it has just as much to say as possible. Like, Evangelion certainly doesn't answer every single question it raises, but, like, it just has so much shit in it, you know? There's so much to take in, and there's so much meta layering to it. There's so much to, like, enjoy after the fact that it adds to it for, you know, the level 3 autist. Well, when you get to level 4, that's when you get to, like, mega franchises and where there's, like, just huge databases
like
of character
Gundam,
traits.
perhaps?
Like Fate. Like the Fate franchise, like where you have to consume all this, any like deep lore of a major franchise, like Star Wars lore, Star Trek lore. Like if you're reading the tie-in novels and shit, that is level 4 autism.
I see.
If you're playing like more mainstream visual novels, that's around here. But then you get to level 5 autism, and this is where you get to like the more obscure visual novels, the people who are just consuming like everything because they categorically need to have seen everything. And
it sounds like you with anime.
Well, I also want to clarify that there's a difference if you do things as a stunt or in order to talk about it. Because like I will watch shows that I not necessarily going to enjoy because it has a like career benefit to me, you know. So like there's some kind of pride tangled up in that, but like there are shows that are just like too dense for me to fucking wrap my head around. Have you ever heard of Horizon on the Middle of Nowhere?
Don't think so.
Horizon on the Middle of Nowhere is the most like over the top with like having just dozens and dozens of characters who all belong to different factions, who all have different races and powers and like different fucking magic systems, and like it's so fucking dense and complex. There's like it's a light novel that's like 600 pages in the first book and has a huge index just to keep track of what the fuck is going on. I tried to watch the anime, couldn't comprehend it. So that's what I consider level 5 autism. Level 6 autism, something happens. We crossed a warning. We're losing functionality. So,
all right.
When we get to level 6, then there's two different directions that level 6 autists will take things. Either they're very strident about staying within the canon, and therefore they have found an unimaginable depth in every element of the canon. This is where we get the people who are upset about them putting taking Sonic's gloves away.
Yes. Okay.
Because they've ascribed a ton of meaning to Sonic's gloves because they're obsessed with Sonic and every part of the canon matters. Sonic, by the way, Sonic meta is level 6 autism.
Tifa's tits are 3 centimeters too small in the remake, and I will not stand for this. This is unacceptable. Her bra should not be exposed. Okay, all right, got it.
But yeah, but then there's the other route that they might take, which is if they don't care about the existing canon, they're going to pump as much of their own shit into the canon as humanly possible. So this is where we get the extreme fanfic writing, and I would say fanfics in general start at level 4 autism. If you're even writing a fanfic at all, it's pretty autistic. Some people who are maybe a little bit less autistic are doing it just as a way to test their writing skills, respectable. Sure. But if you're taking it seriously as something that has its own involved canon, level 4. If you're at level 6, it means that you are somebody who is maintaining a wiki of My Little Pony YouTubers. That's level 6 autism. It's an obsession of a level of obsession with the meta of everything that goes beyond it being good at all. It doesn't have to be good. You just have to be obsessed with it, and you'll find depth and complexity in it. So that's where I would put Chris Chan and Ululila. And
I wish I had a soundboard right now so I could play. And this is what it means to go even further beyond.
And then level 7 is where we get to just functional enough to use the internet, and that's where I'd put the new storyteller, where he clearly he's not participating in social media. He's not he might read his own comments on YouTube, but he posts 7 videos a day. He clearly lives in his parents' basement, and he plays with Thomas the Tank Engine toys. That is that's as autistic as you can get before you're not really consuming media anymore. You are not functioning highly enough for that. So it could be that autism continues past level 7. I don't know how far it goes, but any farther than that, and I can't ascribe a show to it.
Sure. Okay.
So that's my 7 layers of autism. And then the other scales that you have to grade on, it's so each show will have an autism rating and then an intelligence level rating. And so people who are intelligent across the board might enjoy things from different categories. And I'll also make side notes about things like Astro Boy or the works of Osamu Tezuka. I think Tezuka was himself a level 5 autist, but all of his work is level 2 or 3 autism, although he has some obscure works that go truly into the depths. He has some stuff that's more autistic than I think even he is, just because he was curious about it,
Fascinating.
Because he wrote 1,000 manga. He wrote lots of weird fucking shit on the side. But yeah, so that's the intelligence category. You might the reason that normies who are really smart can enjoy Tarantino movies is they're not as attracted to just the meta element. Level 2 autists, they just like the movies because they're out of order and it gives you a lot of shit to keep track of, normies who are smart are just intelligent writing, good characterization, but they're not as interested in it as fetishistically as a autist is, So then we've got the masculine versus feminine rating, because this makes a difference as well, just how masculine or feminine you conceive yourself to be, or what you enjoy out of works. If you are more of a dude bro, you're gonna like more dude bro kind of shows.
Damn, I did not expect a Z axis to be added to this.
There's
equation.
Another axis, because there's gonna be 2 different charts. One is the autism versus intelligence. So there'll be one chart of the autism level and intelligence level, and then another chart of the male versus female, as well as or masculine feminine, to be politically correct. I fall, barely into the masculine side, I would say. I like lots of really feminine stuff, But there's also the emotional thinker versus what was the word I wanted to use?
Pragmatic.
That's a good word. Yeah, pragmatic thinker, because there are a lot of shows are beloved because of the fact that they just have lots of information in them. And like I think of Ben as maybe somebody who likes a lot of the pragmatism in shows, a lot of like, oh, they set up this really interesting rule system, you know, and like, and it says it's built out of like realistic concepts and stuff like that. Like, I think of something like that No Game No Life scene where he removes Column's force from the universe appeals to like the pragmatic thinker who's like, oh wow, science used in storytelling, cool, you know. Whereas like emotional thinkers,
a neat idea, even though the execution doesn't make any fucking sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe you're too pragmatic for it. Maybe it's like a little too emotional or something. But like emotional thinkers are people who more like don't really care about the logic of it as much as, you know, whatever it makes them feel. So like that would be the other axis. I think I could apply this to every anime I know of. I think I could make a reasonable deduction of how autistic is it. If anybody wants, if you have any questions, any anime you want me to put through the test, I could give you my quadrants of what I think it falls into. Does anybody have a suggestion?
Double Decker.
Well, I'm just on that last
I haven't
spectrum.
seen Double Decker,
I
so I
didn't
can't
I'm
do
comparing
that.
two series that are, I think, pretty smart, but like Technolize is probably extremely emotionally based, and then versus like Ghost in the Shell, extremely like intellectual brain based.
Yeah, you know, I would say that
politics.
Technolize is definitely more emotional, but like it does
I
have a
haven't
lot of
watched it, so I
interesting.
don't know.
It has a lot of like weird sci-fi concepts that come out later in the show. So like you'd have to have some interest in sci-fi to like get the most out of it, and like, but yeah, I would definitely say it's more of like a feeling kind of show. It's more of a driven by that for
You know
sure.
what's a good example of this? Fucking Space Patrol Luluco. That's like pure emotion, like no logic
Luluco
at
I
all.
would put on like level 3 autism, because it's so much of it is obsessed with the meta of itself, of its own existence.
that's
you know,
true.
that like it incorporates elements from all the other Trigger shows, and it's like none of that shit even means anything to you unless you've seen all these fucking shows. So you know, it's fairly autistic, but it's also like definitely way more emotional thinker than logical thinker, because none of it really makes any sense or tries to answer its own questions. It's just pure over the top, you know. Teen angst and emotions are what controls the story, you know.
Indeed.
So like emotional thinking, probably right in the like on the line between masculine and feminine. I think it tries to appeal to both.
Yeah, I agree.
In equal measure. And intelligence level, I would say, is like just above average, not like high, but you know, like it plays around with some concepts, and it moves really fast, so it doesn't try to like hold your hand and walk you through everything. But like, yeah, so that's my rating. Level 3 autism, slightly above average intelligence, right in the middle between masculine and feminine, and what was the other paradigm I had?
Emotionally, like skewed.
Yeah, much more
emotional
than rational. Or what the fuck was the
Pragmatic.
Have you seen Psychopaths?
Pragmatic. Yeah, Psychopaths, I would say, is like Psychopaths isn't very autistic at all. Actually, it's pretty straightforward. You know, like. Well, another thing I put at like level like 1.5 to 2 is like shows that play around with like real world theming, stuff like Star Trek, where like it has application to real life, because that's meta in a sense, like if that's what you care about it, which I think people who like Psychopaths would appreciate that, you know, like there's not a ton to keep track of and complications in the story, but it does make a lot of like literary references. It does like, you know, reference other movies and, you know, sort of expound on the conversation through media about the future. So like in that sense, I would say it's like level 2 autism.
A series that has tons of references should definitely like that should inch up the autism like significantly, and like maybe the intelligence a bit, but like it's just a reference that doesn't do anything smart.
Can you give me
just
an
to put it in
example
there.
of a level 0 autistic work?
A Marvel
Bible.
movie. Any like Disney Marvel movie.
Those are crunchy lore, and those have like lots of references to an extended canon, though.
Maybe Iron Man 1.
I would say that those movies they can appeal to both. Like they're made to market to both. Yeah, I was just reminded by May writing it down. Sports is a depending on your level of engagement.
If you're into like the
autistic.
fucking sabermetrics and stuff.
if you get into like fantasy football, that's like at least level 2 or 3 autism.
Yeah,
right there.
I feel like this chart is not like where would you put the thing, but like for the people who are in these brackets, what could you recommend to them?
Level 0 autism is the article in the magazine that you see in the grocery store saying that, you know, Brad and fucking Angelina are back together again.
Well,
BuzzFeed is level
thing,
0 autism.
Like, if I present this whole thing, something I want to clarify is like people anywhere on the spectrum can enjoy stuff that I would categorize as anywhere on the spectrum, depending on how they engage with it. So, like for instance, May was telling me about Warrior Cats, right? And like the Warrior Cats books are meant to just be like children's books. They're kind of autistic, you know, like they have a lot of factions and like relationships and stuff to keep track of, a lot of characters, but like generally they're kids books, you know. But there was a heavy online community for Warrior Cats, and like a lot of them like it because they're furries or just into like animal projecting themselves onto animal characters, or they're like really intent on keeping track of all the factions and like creating you know, diagrams, creating their own fan content and animations and fan fictions, making up their own OCs. And like the more of that you get into, the more autistic it becomes, the more it's like you're trying to take this story and make it more complex, make it have more to offer, because you like the aesthetic elements of it, or maybe you just haven't seen stuff that would appeal to your level of autism. Like maybe there's something that if you knew about it, you wouldn't have to, you know, obsess over Warrior Cats, but you're 13 and it's, you know, it's put in front of you. So that's just what you apply your autism to.
So there's a distinction to be made, obviously, between any individual consumer and the work itself. Could be on totally different pages. Yeah,
exactly. But I do think that there's I think there's a limit to how far out of somebody's autism range they'll generally tend towards. And like, what made me think about this whole chart and like my placement of everything had to do with the fact that I think I'm in a position where I'm like in the middle ground on almost all of these statistics. Like by being like level 3 autism, I can appreciate level 1 shit. I can appreciate level 5 shit. It has to get to level 6. It has to get to the level of like appreciating bad Sonic games because you can't tell the difference. That's where it's like too autistic for me, you know? That's pretty far gone. Most people aren't that autistic. So like I'm in a good acceptable range to talk about a lot of different shit and appreciate it, you know? And being like the hardest thing for me to appreciate is just really dumb shit, you know, regardless of its autism level. If it's not intelligently constructed, that's the hardest thing for me to pass, you know. But like
I gotcha.
Anything else, I'm like right in the middle of pragmatic and emotional. I'm right in the middle of masculine and feminine. I can appreciate stuff all over this spectrum, and you know, I from that vantage point, it's like I can look at absolutely everything and I can say, okay, I've seen all this type of show, and like only these types of, like the same guys who like JoJo also like all this other shit that's like the same amount of autistic, you know, except for guys who like it for really autistic reasons, you know. So yeah, that's kind of how I base my ranking.
Well,
anyway, this will all have
Look forward to it.
possibly already been explained in a video. I have no idea, but now I just wanted you guys to be in on it because I thought you'd all be interested. I think you would all be like looking at stuff and asking yourself like, how autistic is this? I've been doing it constantly. Like I watch YouTube channels and be like, how autistic is this creator? Because like some of them, like there's this guy, and I do not mean for this to sound like a call out, but I've been watching shitloads of like gaming reviews and documentaries and like retrospectives, just tons of game shit. And I stumbled upon this guy called Ant Dude, and he's fairly well spoken. He does like in-depth breakdowns of games that are pretty, you know, he addresses most of the stuff in the game. It's fairly in-depth and enjoyable. His sense of humor is like pretty much borrowed from like Egoraptor and JonTron, but not like nearly as impactful as them. He's not like super funny, but like his super in-depth reviews are of like Kirby and Yoshi games, and I'm like, that's kind of hella autistic, you know? Like there's a lot of almost everything on his channel is covering some kind of mascot platformer, and it's like he's really positive about these games for the most part. He can recognize their flaws, but he doesn't hold them against the games that much. He's like really positive about these games, and I look at it and I think like this is what happens if you're like really intelligent but like level 4 autism, you know? Not to like try to diagnose this guy or anything. I don't even know if he's autistic. I just find his taste to be like what I would consider to be in that realm, you know? Where it's I just want to look at like cutesy fun stuff, and like I get enough depth out of analyzing it that it doesn't have to actually be that deep, you know? Like, whereas something that's like absurdly deep is like a Dwarf Fortress or something, you know? That's like, the appeal is that it's super deep, and
dude.
You don't have to read anything into it because it's completely all there, you know? That would definitely be like level 3 bordering level 4 autism level is like the games like that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, do any of you watch the channel called SsethTzeentach or something
I know
like
that guy. I've seen some of his stuff. People like
Yeah.
him a lot. I've been getting into him.
He's very Demolition D-esque, but even more of like an edgy meme lord. But he plays like, Ben, you gotta watch this channel just because he plays every fucking one of these like super robust games. Like,
what's his name? SsethTzeentach?
It's a long ass name.
Seth
it's
with
weird.
2 S's. If you just type Seth with 2 S's, you'll probably get the channel.
Oh, SsethTzeentach?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
He has like an African warlord as his avatar, and like he always like shows that on screen if it's like him talking. It's very weird aesthetically, but he plays like all the super robust games, and he goes into all the systems and like why they are so deep, like, and what kind of crazy shit can you do in these
Is it
games.
like video essays?
Yeah,
I think this is the guy who made this is the guy who made that the Heroes of Might and Magic 3 review that people kept comparing me to because it came out around the same time.
Yes.
He's done all of the Heroes of Might and Magic games, I think, and but he's covered all kinds of stuff, like a lot of classic RPGs and a lot of like sandbox games, and like usually the main focus of the video is just showing you how crazy of things can happen with the systems in this game, you know, or like how broken the game could be. Like sometimes he'll play games that he's like, this game's not even good, but because of the weirdness of the mechanics and how broken it is, you can play it in like really entertaining ways or mod it to be entertaining in ways, you know. So I'm just impressed by the level of depth he plays the games to before he talks about them, which no other critic fucking does. Nobody even touches stuff like Dwarf Fortress, so it's really cool that he's doing it.
Fucking neat. All right.
He's a good man. He's a good man.
Preemptively subbed.
You know what? I'm not subscribed to no, I think I am. I don't know. Whatever. For some reason, like, there is like a wall. I'm like intimidated to get really into his videos because like
I fucking binged
this guy's
them all
beloved
in a
on
day,
V.
pretty much. He doesn't have like it, even though his channel goes back farther than like the type of videos he does now. Like initially he was doing more like meme videos. It wasn't quite like serious reviews. Over time, he like somehow became a reviewer, but I was able to watch all of them.
Sometimes the memers can grow into the best serious people because they get those memes in there too, and they just hit the sweet spot. I don't know what this guy does because I haven't watched him, but that's what it seems to be the case.
Do you want to move on to voicemails?
Yeah.
I think we should.
Before we go on to voicemails, I wanted to say one thing quickly. I solved a minor inconvenience of mine that has been plaguing me for years, and I wanted to share it with everyone on the off chance that you might have had the exact same problem and have been subconsciously looking for a solution. So one of the banes of my existence of just using computers is having tabs open of sites I frequently use and living in constant fear of my browser crashing or my computer updating or turning it off and losing all those tabs. That drives me insane. So what my system before this is that you can pin tabs in like Chrome and shit. So you can right click on a tab and pin it and it'll stay like nested in the corner. So you can have like an army of like all your frequently used sites.
I had no idea, but okay.
So that's like the old system I had. But the problem with that is that was originally something from like Macs, and like the Mac version works great. Like every time you open the browser, it automatically loads all your tabs that you have pinned. And if you are in a pinned tab and you go to another site, it actually automatically opens a new tab and keeps your pinned tab there, which is great. No other fucking browser works like that. So the feature is basically useless on anything that's not a Mac. But earlier this week, I discovered a feature of Chrome that has solved this problem completely and has no longer made me worried about my browser tabs or losing or having access to sites that I use all the time. And it's if you're on a website, any website as far as I can tell, and you click the menu, you go to more tools and do create shortcut, it'll pop up and it's like, oh, create a shortcut, then you can check off open as window. And when you hit create, it takes that tab and just makes it a web app. It's in its own container. It's pulled out of the browser, and you can pin it to your taskbar and open it just like a regular application. And so you no longer have to worry about your tabs anymore that you your frequently used websites. They just work just like regular apps. Like I have Patreon, YouTube, and Twitter all in my taskbar, along with all my graphic design apps and Blender and game dev engines. And every time I want to use them, you just click it and it just opens up its own dedicated window. It doesn't open it up in your browser. It just runs its own self-contained version of itself like a native application.
I'm seeing it.
And it's the best fucking shit of all time.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a moment here. I see the one downside of this being that now that you've got this open as a dedicated, I just did this with YouTube just now, but now I've lost the ability to on the top menu go to another website while I have this open because it's dedicated to just YouTube. Is this correct? Am I missing anything?
No. It's designed to run like a application.
Okay.
It just runs it in a container that works like an application.
Okay, well, sick.
the benefit is that, again, you don't have to worry about your browser crashing or your computer updating and all these things going away because they're always in your taskbar like anything else. And it's changed my life. And
I'm going to try it. I just pinned my YouTube one.
Level 3 computer autistic like I am, this is a godsend. So check it out.
Lads,
guys.
Try it out and let us know in the comments if this is making a positive difference in your life. I'm curious how many people would want to use this.
I have something I want to say. Before we go into voicemails, I just want to do a quick update on the Vapors 2 Kickstarter, which is that we have smashed all the stretch goals, and at this moment of recording, we're just shy of $8,000, and the next stretch goal is $10,000, at which point, pins for all. Everybody who is
incredible.
If we hit $10,000, everyone who has already pledged at 15 or higher will just get a free pin, a new pin, a third pin. It's my Heart Saint logo, black on silver. Gonna make those. Just give them to everybody. Fuck.
How much time is left in the campaign?
When you're listening to this, there will be 1 week left to donate.
There's usually that bump at the very end as people realize they got to get it in. So this seems achievable. This seems pretty doable.
I think so. I'm optimistic. Anyway, Kickstarter.com/project/Benzene/Vapors2. Link in the description.
Is the stretch goal that everybody gets a free pin?
Yes.
Everybody who has bought...
I want it. Go donate so I can get a free pin.
Everybody who has bought a physical reward, at least.
If you donated $15, say, for just the book, and then the already you will receive $1 in your package because we hit the stretch goal that everybody gets $1 because communism. And then if we hit $10,000, then you, poor Rube, who merely ordered a book before, will then receive the book, the $1, and the pin, just for having contributed to the cause.
What is the pin gonna be?
It's the my heart logo.
Ben, shouldn't you
I want the infinite chest pin.
Well, you gotta pay. You gotta get that one on its own level.
That's like $45 for that one, I think.
No, for infinite jest pin, that's the first pin at 25. 25 would get you the book and the infinite jest pin.
I paid the amount where I got both comics.
Just both.
That
comics?
means you get it right.
I got both comics and the infinite jest.
I pledged 45 because 45 was the lowest I could do to get the books and the pins, which is what I wanted.
If you just got the book, okay. Well, let me hold on. Let me look at the rewards. Okay. 25 would get you either both books or a book and a pin. If you wanted to get both books and the pin, you have to do 35. That's how it.
That's why I didn't want to pay an extra $10 just for the pin because I don't put pins on anything. I just want it because of the meme of infinite jest.
I have a row of pins here that bring me such joy every day, including my Poobah pin and my Radcon 3 pin.
I still have my Poobah pin. It's on my laptop bag.
No, this Kickstarter is at least a level 2.5 autism based on the amount of highly specific reward tiers and combinations of things one might pay very specific amounts of money to achieve.
I would generally categorize both you and Nate into like level 2 autism. But I definitely think
that's
that
probably
both
a bit
of
higher
you,
than me, I'd guess.
I think you both like a lot of stuff that's outside of your category just based on how good it is. Like I said, really good stuff can transcend its categorization more easily amongst intelligent people just because you're like, wow, this thing might be really autistic, but it's really interesting, you know? And, like, you might even enjoy, ironically, some things, like Ulilila's book. Obviously, that's like a level 6 autism book, but it's like fun to read, you know?
It's fun conceptually.
Yeah,
I kind of feel
fun
like
to think about, we'll say.
I feel like my autism must spike when I read something like that because that is not a good book. It is not fun
to
read,
and yet spiking.
And yet somehow I can maintain, I can keep myself erect through the entire process of reading it. Somehow I can maintain enough interest that I could get through it, like multiple times. It's even though it's
we should move on to voicemail.
Yes, indeed. Let's do that. Okay, I've got them pulled up right here. Okay, let me see. Here we go. Okay, so everybody, of course, leave us voicemails. We love them, people. Speakpipe.com. There's a link in the description. Just go click on that. Give us voicemails. They're quality. Perhaps you'll be as lucky enough, as skilled enough to get into the PCP voice grail, or perhaps you'll be degenerate, lowly piece of shit enough to be locked away forever in the PCP jail, the voice jail. So it's a real gamble. Be careful before you submit.
How many?
Okay, here we go.
How many voicemails we got?
I think 10. I think an even 10. Okay, there's 10, and then there's one just preview thing. All right, before we get to the real voicemails, here's the proto voicemail. What could this one be about? This is called CryptoPunk. All right, let's hear what it has to say. Go.
The dawn of the PCP Minecraft server will bring a new age for those who choose to mine at night.
Yay!
This is the rise of the CryptoPunk.
Patreon.com/PCP Minecraft, people. $5 and get in the server. It's gonna be a blast.
I'm hyped that CryptoPunk is starting to get some roots and becoming part of the PCP canon.
I can't believe you actually made a separate Patreon.
We
I
did
can't
it.
believe it really happened. Okay.
All right. Now onto the actual voicemails. Okay, here we go. Calling in is Mickey Mouse in real life. Has some things to say. Let's hear it. Let's hear them. Go.
Oh, hey there, Procrastinators.
Hello.
It's me, Mickey Mouse.
Mario.
Minnie's asleep, so I can't be too loud. But I'm here to discuss possibilities for an exclusive PCP deal with Disney Plus. We love your stuff, but we gotta work on that Ben Saint fella, because he could be a little dangerous, you know? We really can't have him saying those things he says. And you know, Nate,
I'm pretty
I
pumped.
can't guarantee anything, but joining the Disney family could get you an in on, well, you know, something you're really love. Well, that's all for now. I gotta go take Pluto for a walk in the dead of night. Get in touch once you've, you know, done something about Ben Saint.
Yeah, I knew he'd have it out for me.
Disney money and no more Ben Saint. This sounds like a win-win to me.
Yeah, I got to agree. Where's the downside, I ask? Where's the downside?
Well, it's been fun.
All right. Surely Mickey Mouse and his cohorts live, as opposed to communist hell, in capitalist heaven. And that's where I aspire to be eventually.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
They have a direct line to capitalist God.
And they're definitely under the I'm sure they're operating under the purview of, you know, Emperor Matius from Final Fantasy II, who with his administrative powers operating this whole thing, you know, like clockwork. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is Grailers and Jailers. Okay, get to it.
Yo, I gotta say, I'm really tired of this jail grail shenanigans. I gotta say, it's cool.
Okay.
People have been submitting more quality voicemails, but this shit is insane. It doesn't matter. It's up to the PCP, man. It doesn't matter if you send in 6 quality voicemails in a row and they all get played and everyone laughs. It doesn't matter. You just need to do something epic. You can't pander and make all these retarded ironic memes like you got put in the grail and then you immediately dropped your spot. Retarded, stupid, gay.
Okay, I think we're all thinking. I'm sure we're all thinking the same thing. right?
Voice Grail.
I think
Voice jail.
Voice jail.
What?
Voice jail. Voice Grail.
Well, okay. Well, obviously, we'll have to cut him in half and put half of him in one and half in the other.
How about
just
voice
like
limbo?
Emperor Matius?
Yes.
We're opening voice limbo for people who are just like, it's just a big shrug room where people shrug.
Does everybody get in voice limbo then? Is that
yes,
or just people who
voice
are particularly
limbo doesn't have a
mediocre
good rhyming
get
scheme
into...
to it, like Grail, Male, and yeah, we got to come up with a better name.
I mean, I agreed with him. He was just very boring to listen to.
I'd call that a big voice fail, if you ask me.
100% agree.
He doesn't even deserve to be on paper. How dare you speak against our system? Okay, next up we've got...
No, he was speaking against the system that, like, the people calling in try to like joke their way into the voice Grail, but they're not doing it right.
That's true. Those are the real criminals. Those are the real criminals, and I won't have any of it. Okay, then next up we've got it says Dictator Nate. Presumably it's to Dictator Nate, that being me. Okay, let's hear it. Go.
Calling out Nate Bessman. Ben heads, it is time to rise up. Nate has suppressed 3
is he under the bed?
voicemails in a row. He has not played them. I tried to make them funny. I tried to have a good meme, make it so maybe they would laugh.
Is he speaking through a toilet roll?
Nate has suppressed.
I mean, it's not helping your odds.
These voicemails have been...
It is time to rise.
Low quality, low energy.
that was low energy. See, this guy is like, oh, all my Yang voicemails were so quality. Oh, yeah, were they equally as quality as this voicemail?
Yes,
and you wonder why they weren't played.
Like, sounds like it's playing from the other side of the wall. Like,
I think he's literally just like cupping his hands over his mouth and talking through them.
That does sound like it.
As a sort of makeshift voice filter.
Listen, I'm an equal opportunity. There are people who are like, yeah, fuck Ben, man. I'm on Nate's side. And I don't play them either because they're not funny, because they're lame. Just make it good and it'll get played.
But
I don't care what it is.
Except when Nate wants to talk about how the voicemails suck, and then he will play anything. Like he just did.
Voicemail because it's really funny. I mean, okay, fair. Okay, got the next one right here. And this is from How TF you pronounce. How the F you pronounce, presumably. Okay, go.
How the fuck you pronounce Gurren Lagann? Some of you say Gurren Lagann, some of you say Gurren Lagann. Some of you say Tetsuya Nomura Namura. Manga, Davu, Davu. What is Nate's last name? Obama's last name? Mojang, Sahara, Evangelion? Code gay ass?
Dude, what? I'm with him.
That was all about the delivery.
Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann.
Gurren Lagann.
It's Japanese. What are you gonna do? Our lips aren't advanced enough to speak the moon
Evangelion.
I don't know why, but Tengen Toppen just makes me think of Legos.
It's not Tengen Toppen. It's Tengen Toppa.
Tengen Toppen Lego.
Oh, you're putting an N at the end there. Oof, that's rough. Then again, I mean, I have been made fun of for my pronunciation of I think I say like Kamina. I think I'll say like
Kamine.
I can't remember.
When are we gonna get
Kamina? I don't know.
When are we gonna get Tenlaid Toppen Gurren Lagann?
Ooh, that sounds great. That's a cosplay waiting to happen right there.
I think so. Frankly, I'm surprised I've had to wait this long.
I'm a premium
Snapchat as a premium subscriber. I feel I deserve better.
It's only fair. All right, next up. Okay, this is a big news, everybody. Eroge Samurai returns. Long-awaited hero of the voicemails. Let's hear what he has to say. Go.
Mataoka PCP. It is me, Eroge Samurai. After my disgrace by the digital bureau, I have been training for my comeback. When I finally returned, I am very shocked to see you are playing very racist stereotype on your show. The Chinese dog Mao Zedong is using very racist accent to sound like Japanese. Chinese don't sound like that. It is very rude to me as a Nihonjin. I have dedicated myself to finding the way to hell, so I can kill all the communist and restore honor to Japan.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Leave him alone.
Nanking 2 coming soon to communist hell. It's only a matter of time.
Soul. Like, it hurt me right in the soul.
Wait, who was the Chinese character that's had a fake
Chairman
Japanese
Mao.
accent?
Chairman Mao's been calling in from communist hell to, you know,
I see.
make nice with the PCP, which we appreciate.
I think maybe this guy maybe Eroge Samurai just thinks Japanese sound like shit. Maybe that's just what he thinks. He thinks that Mao Zedong's stupid accent is just reminds him. It hits too close to home.
That, perhaps the demon was in his own eye all along, and he needs to do some self-reflection.
Think about it, Eroge Samurai. Leave those good communist boys alone. They just want justice.
Speaking of communists, we've got. Do you know Karl Liebknecht at Communist Hell? Do you know this guy? I don't know who he is exactly. I assume he's a communist.
Is that like his email? Karl Liebknecht at communisthell.edu.
Probably something like that. .gov, of course. Let's. I don't know. He'll tell us about it. All right, Karl, go.
Hello, this is Karl Liebknecht, the good boy of Communist Hell. I'm really just here to spend some time with my comrades. Anyways, I want to remark that you placing only certain denizens of Communist Hell in the voice grille is at best pointless and adverse to counter-revolutionary act. The ascension of our comrades is the ascension of all the peasants and the proletariat of the world beyond your artificial stratification. This... Oh god, what was that? Again, how is this happening here?
Oh man, another classic communist faux pas.
Another comrade falls.
That's all right, Karl.
I thought
exclamation revive. You'll be fine.
I thought they had gun laws in hell.
They have so many gun laws. It's like, Chicago, politics, et cetera, et cetera.
It's like they say, the only solution to a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. But there are no good guys with guns. There are no good guys in communist hell.
By touching
so it's
a gun,
bad guys with guns.
By touching a gun, you become a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how you wind up in communist hell.
All right, let's move on. We've got one from Zulfer. Okay, go.
Last week, upon hearing that the virgins are banned from making voicemails unless we fuck the PCP, I paused, reflected, and decided I want to sleep with a band. The only question left is, who do I fuck, who do I marry, and who do I kill? I think about it for a minute. Ben, Munchie, and Nate. Fuck Nate because he has 100K subscribers and I could blackmail him later.
Digi has more.
Marry Munchie because I can introduce him to my parents without dying of embarrassment. And kill Ben because of his problematic egalitarian hate speech that's being disguised as far left talking points.
You can't fool us, Ben.
PCP. My body is ready.
This is a hate crime. This is we gotta cancel this guy right fucking now.
I appreciate him at least respecting our updated system where you no virgins allowed to leave voicemail. So that's
he is a
big
good boy.
appreciation for that.
Yes. Okay. I knew this day would come. Everyone's out for me today.
Well, all the online
voicemails
trolls, the deep hackers. All right.
They know I'm a danger to their precious system.
Indeed.
To their precious
we've got another one. Nate, this one's from Nate, you uncultured fuck. It's D-N-Verd. And again, this is another classified voice.
The N-word?
He's German.
The N-word called in last time, but this is D-N-Verd is calling in. I made a mistake last time. I don't know. Okay, anyway, go.
Somewhere in the deepest, darkest reaches of flogmological space-time. Grrr!
There he is.
I made it. Sensei, thank you. Agent 1488. I see you've returned from your undercover mission. You certainly know how to make an entrance. I trust you have the intel.
What's happening?
Apologies for teleporting directly to your inner chamber, but the information I have obtained is of utmost importance. The Pinkos have established contact with the other side. Somehow they're able to punch through the veil between our Flodgmos and physical space-time. What? How is this possible? No signal can reach the other side? The phlogiston creates too much background noise. It garbles the signal. I want our top scientists working on this until the message is uncovered. Yes, my Fuhrer. There's just one more thing I have to report. I managed to trace their signal back through physical space-time, and have confirmed who is receiving the signal from communist hell.
Excellent work, Agent 1488. Who is the person listening on the other side?
My Fuhrer, it's not a person. It's an entire organization. There's nothing in our records about them, but they've somehow amassed enough power to break through the barrier between their world and communist hell. They call themselves the PCP.
Oh my God!
I
This
didn't
is the
know.
dawn of a new
I
era.
didn't know Batman was as a Nazi. I didn't know Batman was a German man.
I guess he was all along. Maybe this is like there's something about phlogismological space going on in there.
The Flogmos is very intriguing to me.
It is.
Now I got to look up phlogiston theory right now. Figure out what does it all mean.
It's seeming like we're developing an alliance with the fine folks down in communist hell against these clearly fascist motherfuckers. Agent 1488 and his evil boss there.
Are they operating out of PC limbo? Somewhere there's somewhere in the in between spaces.
All right, no, this is level 3 autistic, level 4 autistic. Like this whole like arc. I can't keep track of it. Somebody do a lecture, please. I need to understand.
Okay, we've got one final voicemail, and this is a continuation of another beloved saga. This is Not Even Clusterpunk Can Save the PCP from Me. Okay, here we go.
Luckily, I escaped from PC prison, but you guys were about to let me rot there. So for retribution, I hacked some of your search histories. Prepare to be exposed. Okay, so Nate, we have Naked Girl. Naked Girl abs. Hillary Clinton leaked nudes. Why was slavery abolished? Why can't I own slaves? Slave black market.
Good questions.
Slave black market price. Slave black market price USD. Overnight life guarantee US shipping rates. Okay, we can see where this is going. Ben.
That's an
Bang
capitalism,
Energy.
baby.
Keto Pizza Crust. Sonichu. Teespring.com.
This is all true.
Is it gay to be aroused
This
by
is all
Bernie
true.
Sanders' neck fat? What the fuck? How to remove a cucumber stuck in my... Okay, never mind. This family's fucking loony. Tom,
How did
Mage,
he
and Diggy
know?
don't seem to have any search histories, no doubt covering up many heinous crimes.
No
Munchie
doubt,
here is
no
pretty
doubt.
simple. He's only searched one thing the last few months. How to convince my friends I'm in college so I don't have to talk to them anymore. Classic. Okay, Jess. Top 10 easiest ways to kill someone. Tips on where to bury a body. Best alibis. Ronda Rousey home address. Okay. It's just hippopotamus porn. I've never seen so many pictures of Gloria from Madagascar in one place before. Okay, well, I've had about enough of this, guys. No wonder the police are arresting PCP listeners. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. They're doing fine work, the PC
We're the
police.
reason people are dying in jail.
All right, that's it, everybody. Speakpipe.com. Send us your voicemails. We asked, and you guys are delivered. The PCP voicemails are seeing marked improvements, and I'm appreciating it.
The ratings are skyrocketing.
It's just insane, the climbs, the financial benefit we're reaping from these voicemails. You wouldn't believe it if I told you. The corporate sponsorships, such as with Disney Plus, are flooding in. So let's just keep it going. SpeakPipe, link down below. Leave yours. Patreon.com/theprocrastinators. $1 Discord, $5 all the bonus episodes. There's going to be like 29 or 30 by the time you hear this fucking episode. Incredible benefits, incredible deal. And any more we appreciate. And now at a $10 pledge, guess what you get into? The fucking PCP Minecraft server, which also has a separate Patreon for just $5. Oh my God, come play with us. Video games, streams, build a home.
Wait,
Minecraft,
so we ended up making a separate
Pixelmon.
Patreon and incorporating it into ours?
We thought it was a reasonable thing to just make us an additional bonus for those people who are already pledging like $10 or more. We're just giving them a free entry if they want to, but we expect most people to do the separate page.
Wow,
That's
wacky
the
and
deal.
crazy!
I know, it's absolutely bonkers, folks. So kooky and ridiculous.
Maybe it's crazy enough to work.
We will find out. If it doesn't work, we'll change tax. We'll keep you posted. So go give us money on all these fronts, leave more voicemails, and follow us at TP Crastinators on Twitter for all kinds of fun things. And we will see you next week for another butt-blasting episode of the Pro Crastinators podcast. See you there. Bye.
Ding.